Yo guys, what up, what up, what up for this beautiful, amazing special segment of trying to find out what is the greatest year for rap. What is the greatest year for rap? Because I think this was started by, I think it was a conversation that I had with someone online and we're just going through just a different year. So you know what it was here? I think I was listening to an album and I was like, oh wow, this album's pretty good. And then I found out that this album came out in this specific year. And then I was like, wow. Basically, I'll tell you how this got spawned off. But obviously, it's me and Marvelous. So Marvelous, we're going there. What up, my Marvelous? Are you there, bro?
What up, baby? What up, baby?
All right, yo. So me and Marvelous, we're gonna try and break this down, and we may be getting a few people during this stream to try and see what's up. And guys, if anybody in here is a hip hop head, if you are a hip hop head and you want to be part of this discussion, feel free to say something in the live chat, and then I will send you a link via Twitter DM. So if you want to be part of the discussion, feel free, man. This is open to anyone. We chilled out. So basically, this was started off by I listened to the Infamous album because I'd not really listened to that in its entirety for a long time from beginning to end. I was like, oh wow. And then I then found out that it came out in 1995. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, man, so many amazing rap albums came out in 95. And I've always had this notion that 1995 is the greatest year of rap, that the best albums in one given year was 1995. So I said, you know what, rather than just assuming this, let me just research this. So then I then obviously went on to Google and said, okay, like let's just do year by year by year by year by year by year. And then what I found out was, wow, it isn't so easy. 1995 isn't just like a slam dunk deal. There's actually a lot of arguments for there being other albums that you can put in there. So other years have a strong arguments for them being tops. So before we even go into the specifics of the years, because we're going to try and do this by a year basis and look at how the albums that came out in a given year. So Marvelous, is there a year that stands out for you, or there isn't really a year, or do you really have like, nah, I believe that this is the greatest year for rap?
Um, I think there are a few years, a couple of years that really grab at me. 1988, and I think someone even just pointed that out in the live chat, is one of the most incredible and influential years in hip hop rap history. 1995, which is just like you and a whole bunch of other people also regard to be one of the golden years in hip hop. 2002, DMX's breakthrough year, Mace's breakthrough year. You know,
Wait,
you
wait,
have,
wait, wait, wait. Is that the year that DMX brought out two albums?
yes,
Oh, okay.
Bad Boy Records, really the East Coast really just shaping up. Um, then you have the whole Cash Money, Lil Wayne, whatever people may feel about their lyricism, they still had
Oh, easy.
they still had a presence and you still felt their
Yeah,
impact.
no, it was a huge presence.
And then you have 2010 and 2011, which are still years that are great nonetheless. So there's a bunch of them.
You see, my thing here is this: is that, and I will argue with anyone with this, is that I respect what the 80s were and I respect how influential the 80s were. But for me, the golden years, the golden decade of rap was the 90s. And I feel that the mid 90s for me is when rap reached its precipice with regards to the people who were coming out and the albums that were released. So I always feel like, if for me, the 90s is where we go out. And you know what? This is a debate, this is a back and forth, and I'll be looking at the live chat to see what you guys are saying, where you guys are flowing, But I strongly believe that if we go through the years, I feel that I will respect what the 80s brought, but that's just not my flow. I feel when we now get to the 90s, you will just see the great difference and gap in quality. And I think when we now get to the 2000s, you'll see a few gems, but you will see that the year in its entirety in the 2000s just do not compare to when we now start hitting the heavy hitters from, I believe, early mid 90s. I think that is the golden age of rap, of where you saw the creme de la creme of the rap thing. When by the time you get to the late 90s, early 2000s, it's like, because that's when so rap was being commercialized, popularized, and then it was just having a great shift. And some of the lyricists who were at the forefront we sort of push back for the guys in shiny suits and the much more razzmatazz of rap. But look, man, let's get down to it, man, and let's just try and break this down. So we're going to start from 1987. I think that is the first way to go. We're going to start from 1987 and we're going to go in here year by year by year by year. So 1987, what do we have? We have Bigger and Deffer, LL Cool J. Yo, Bomb Rush the Show, Public Enemy. Criminal Minded, Boogie Down Productions. That's obviously with KRS-One. Sorry. So what am I doing here? How You Like Me Now, Cool Mo D, NWA and the Posse. Paid in Full, Eric B and Rakim. Just Ice, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Rock the House. Rhyme Days, Ice-T, Living Large, Heavy D. So you see, okay, before I go to Marvelous, when I look at this repertoire here, I think you're seeing very impactful rappers, very impactful artists, and so forth. And this is where, again, it's what we're going to do. I respect this, but no albums here scream to me classic. Maybe apart from the Eric B. Rakim Paid in Full. So Marvelous, 1987. What does 1987 say to you?
This year, to me, just screams out solid. Most bodies of work, if not all bodies of work that were released in this year, were just efforts that were influential and are often highly regarded. There are also very underappreciated, in my opinion, often disregarded albums that dropped. MC Shan, Down by Law. Funk Flex handled a lot of the production of that in an album in a studio in the Bronx. Eric B and Rakim in the Bronx also. KRS-One, a lot of his work. So I think this year can be looked at as a year that laid the foundation for what went on to happen in the 90s. If you look at, Too Short, Born to Mac, that's another album that people often gloss over when they look at this year or when they look at the 80s at large. So I don't think there's a bad album here, but I don't think there's an album that's critical acclaim. I think everything was just solid. It just set the fundamentals. The basics of rap were executed really well on all, if not most of them, and it set the tone for what was to come. And if you also notice, a lot of these albums were debuts for acts that went on to be staples in rap culture.
For me, I think this is solid. Nothing classic, but with regards to a year, I don't think apart from Paid in Full, Eric B and Rakim, I don't think there's even an album that says whoa, because again, this is when KRS-One was in a group, Criminal Minded, because KRS-One really hit his peak when he went out on his old debut thing. So 87, solid, but nothing to really scream about. 1988. So we have It Takes a Nation of Millions, Public Enemy, Strictly Business, EPMD, The Great Adventures, Slick Rick, Long Live the Kane, Big Daddy Kane, Follow the Leader, Eric B and Rakim. Boom, we have our first classic, straight out of Compton, NWA, By All Means Necessary, Boogie Down Productions. He's the DJ, I'm the rapper, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and of course Will Smith. Easy Does It's Easy-E, Power, Ice-T. So for me, again, with regards to, I feel this is very similar to 87. And I think this is probably the first year where you had the first truly, I would argue this, Straight Outta Compton and It Takes a Nation of a Million. I think those are two that I would say had international success. I think Paid in Full was like a rap classic. I think the first time where, okay, you're now looking at albums that really sort of transcended the kind of paradigm of rap was Straight Out of Compton and It Takes a Nation of Millions. But for a given year, I still say it's similar to 87. Solid, but as a repertoire, as a whole, nothing more than solid. What do you say, Marvelous?
I would have to agree with that. I think a lot of acts that released in 87 came through again in 88, and they were starting to solidify the careers that they would end up having. NWA also released in 87, but obviously they had grown and matured and just become more comfortable within their sounds a lot quicker than others. And that's why they gave Straight Outta Compton. And if you also take note, Salt and Pepper,
Hey,
speaking of internationally acclaimed albums, that album that they released in 88 was huge internationally. I think it was underappreciated in the United States because they were a female
oh no
group.
no 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 no! What's it called? I can bear witness from a kid in Nigeria. Salt and Pepper came to Nigeria, man. So in every Nigerian party and everything during the time Salt and Pepper was huge in Nigeria. So yeah,
Yeah, so internationally, their albums really made waves. But in terms of the rap and hip hop landscape in the United States, it was underappreciated. And when you look at it from a broad perspective, it really only is Straight Outta Compton that screams classic.
you wouldn't say it takes a nation of millions. Public
Um, I,
Enemy.
I wouldn't say that because I've always had this whole my opinion on Public Enemy as at large is that they've always given solid albums, but
No.
they
See. Okay, before I say, see, my thing about it, I've never been a Public Enemy fan.
yeah.
So that they're just not my kind of music. But I'm trying to take my subjective bias away from it and just look at their impact musically. So let me just take my personal view of how I feel and their impact. Because people say, with respect to being political and saying things for rap, that was like the Bible of political rap. That was almost like the genesis of, wow, putting politics and saying things in rap with regards to the stuff that is happening in the world socially. So I would put It Takes Nation Millions on the same pedestal as Straight Out of Compton, where they were impactful but for two very different reasons. Since Straight Out of Compton is more on a commercial basis, It Takes Nation of Millions is more on like a political basis, if you know what I mean, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think even with Straight Out of Compton, and I agree with you 100%. Public Enemy, especially with It Takes a Nation, they were more so putting the system as an enemy. The system was what they were fighting against. They were fighting against political oppression, social injustice, marginalization, things that had never been talked about by MCs. But also NWA, I feel, did that, but they were able to do it in a way that was a lot more commercial, in a way that you could sing about it, you could rap about it, you could freestyle about it. Dr. Dre with the production. They were able to take what um, was being done by Public Enemy and what was being done by artists such as Salt and Pepper and MC Shan and other artists who weren't really too, I would say, they weren't too subversive and they weren't too hypercritical of the system. They were able to take both worlds and combine it and make something that appeased every type of hip hop head. They were able to make something that someone who was a casual listener could appreciate and someone who was a hardcore listener who wanted some sort of social accountability from his artists could also like and love. But I just like I said with Public Enemy, a lot of their albums, I don't think they have a bad album, but I don't think they have a classic album. I think they have solid efforts, and I often end up putting asterisks next to albums that I feel would be classics if they just elevated it a bit and weren't so against the system. I feel like they put themselves in a box to where a lot of their music started to sound the same.
No, true. I mean, look, I mean, I think for me, from a Public Enemy is more of a respect thing. But I've never just been a fan of. It seems to you, I've never said, okay, well, this is an amazing album. And yeah, I'm going to make a revelation, bro. And some Tupac fans may not like what I'm going to say. But when we get there, I'm going to make a revelation about Tupac. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. But I'll make a revelation. But for Public Enemy, yeah. So I think 88, same with 87, solid. But definitely not a year as a whole that really stands out. 1989. So 89, we have 3 Feet High and Rising De La Soul, Paul's Boutique, Beastie Boys, Unfinished Business, EPMD, Done by the Forces of Nation, Jungle Brothers. This is an album I need to listen to. So the album I need to listen to, All Hail the Queen, Queen Latifah. The Cactus album, Third Base. Grip Hits, so basically Ghetto Boys album. Road to the Riches, Cool G Rap. Bismarcky album, Walking with the Panther. L Cool J, It's a Daddy Thing, Big Daddy Kane. Eyes on This, MC Light. See, for me, looking at this again, cool, maybe slightly weaker than 87 and 88. I would say that's 87 and 8. Because for me, I'm looking at this right now, there isn't one, there's not an album that really screams, oh wow, this is one that is a classic or really stands out. But there's some pretty interesting ones in there, but not a year that I think that really sort of, you'd say, stands the test of time. What are you saying about 89?
I think 89 is where a lot of independent labels who were the first to sort of trust in hip hop acts and want to invest in them started to see a lot of what was minuscule profit back then was a lot. So I think that they started to try and replicate acts. And if you notice, a lot of these acts that put out albums in this year, if you go and listen to some of these albums, you would notice that some of the rappers were in similar veins. They had similar flows. You're noticing rappers coming out from the same borough.
Wait, you mean in this year?
In this year. This was the year where not major labels, but independent labels saw that there was something with hip hop. So they decided to not overly commercialize it, but to experiment and invest more. And some of these acts, when you go and if your chance to go and listen to these albums, and I'm sure people in the live chat will agree with me, some of these albums are influenced by the same artists, the same flows, Eric B. and Rakim, Public Enemy, NWA, Too Short Sound kind of just was birthed from them. And you're starting to see similarities, regions starting to develop their sound. I don't think there's a classic album in this year.
No.
But I do think there are albums that are really good.
Yeah,
the Ghetto Boys
good.
album, Queen Latifah's album, and even Sir Mix-a-Lot's album. But as far as classic is concerned, no. There isn't a classic in this year for me.
All right. So we now head over to the 90s, man. We now head over to the 90s. 1990. So we have America's Most Wanted, Ice Cube, Fear of a Black Planet, Public Enemy. I think this is Tribe Called Quest's debut album, People's Instinctive Travels in the Paths of Rhythm, although not their best. Wanted Dead or Alive, Cool G Rap. Big album, One for All, Brand Nubian. Mama Said Knock You Out, LL Cool J, Let the Rhythm Hit, Eric B. and Rakim. Business as Usual, EPMD, Step in the Arena, Gangsta, Take a Look Around, Master Ace, Funky Technician, Lord Finesse, Black's Magic, Salt and Pepper. So this is where I think we are now beginning to see something emerge. Not yet, but we're seeing the tips of something. I think really the album that stands out easily is America's Most Wanted. Ice Cube's album that stands out. That's not. This is when we're now first introduced into Tribe Called Quest, but it's not Tribe Called Quest's best album. I think the albums that stand out is One for All, Brand Nubian. Very good album, very influential, and of course America's Most Wanted, Ice Cube's solo album. So I think in this year, you're beginning to slowly see a departure from the 80s and which is why I think that you're going to just see how influential Tribe Called Quest is, specifically Q-Tip, in terms of his production and how Tribe Called Quest sound influences others and sort of shifts. So as much as Rakim's rap style changed how people constructed rap, I think Tribe Called Quest's sound and Q-Tip's production changed the way that people produce. Because there was a time when I would listen to Tribe Called Quest and I said, wait a minute, these guys, they were sounding like this in the early 90s? So it just shows you how influential they are, because Tribe Called Quest and the way they rapped and the way they did it just seemed different from how everyone else in the 80s was doing it. So this, I think, was the tip of the iceberg, but not really money yet. What are you saying about 1990, bro?
I think 1990 ushered in the new decade really well. When I say decade, I mean the 90s. Commercially, LL Cool J and Sir Mix-a-Lot. Sir Mix-a-Lot on the production, LL Cool J rapping. Incredible. Commercially. Hit songs. Mama Said Knock You Out. That album all over the world was internationally, still today, is one of the most popular rap albums. America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube, I think, is a classic. I make that argument often. I think it was a classic. I think what Dr. Dre was doing, what he was doing in the West Coast, and a lot of people don't know that this album is actually heavily influenced by Ice-T and what Ice-T did on his albums.
Oh, in America's Most Wanted.
Yes. Even down to the production and what Dr. Dre did. Public Enemy with Fear of a Black Planet, which is my favorite Public Enemy album.
Okay.
Still not a classic, but another very, very solid album. But like I said, the whole them going up, having the system as an enemy, attempting to be too subversive, put them in the box. Which,
but I've not heard you mention Brand Nubian, One for All.
No, I'm getting there. I think Brand Nubian's album is an album that, to me, introduced experimentation to the landscape of hip hop. It was
also content as well.
Yeah.
People were not saying the kind of stuff that they were saying before Brand Nubian came through with respects to the 5% knowledge of the black man and so forth.
Third eye, soulful, just soul food, third eye consciousness, experimentation. Because, it was, when you listen to that album, if you're a person that's unfamiliar with what the soundscape was like, it's a bit of a shock. It takes some getting used to, because you're like, okay, why are these people talking about these topics? Why do they have this point of view? Why aren't they battling what we've labeled to be the enemy? Why are they So that's another album.
Oh, I'm sorry for the lies. Oh man. So MC Hammer as well. Okay.
Yeah, that you say MC Hammer. When I say the 1990 was huge for commercial acts, Eric B and Rakim Let the Rhythm. I think, and also Gangstar, which is also another album that's often overlooked when people talk about 1990. I think this year was good, and you start to see what's to come. This is like a little taster of what's to come, of what rap music is going to do in the 90s.
All right. So let's head over to 91, man. Okay. Now we're getting things interesting. So, Low End Theory, Tribe Called Quest, one of their strongest albums. De La Soul is Dead, De La Soul. Death Certificate, Ice Cube. Quick is the name, DJ Quick. Mr. Scarface is back, Scarface. Ghetto Boys album. OG Original Gangster, Ice-T. Tupacalypse Now, Tupac. Okay. Fruits of Nature, Life of the Ghetto Kid, Nature of His Sister, Queen Latifah, Home-Based DJ Jazzy Jeff, Peaceful Journey, Heavy D and the Boys. I think my brothers had that album. My older brothers had that album. Cypress Hill, coming into the wave. Okay. Interesting. Words from the Genius, Jizza. Oh, so yeah, that's all album there. So, as I'm looking at this, similar to 1990, but I think 1990 was stronger. So I still feel that in this year, rap was still trying to find its way. I don't really see any real heavy hitters, heavy sledgehammers, but the key thing is Low End Theory. I think for me that is easily the standout, strongest album of this whole year. I think we see good, decent albums, But most from what we've been seeing of previous years, we have still yet to see a strong year. So I still think 1991 is similar to 1990. We're just getting warmed up. We're just getting warmed up. So what are you saying, Marvelous?
Low End Theory is a classic,
Yes.
undoubtedly.
Yeah.
There's no argument. But I think with this year, you're seeing a lot of debuts from acts that will go on to be staples in the culture. But this was just them trying to find their footing, trying to find their place. You know, Quick is the name, good album, solid album, but when you listen to it in totality, you can tell that he's still trying to find his production, find his sound. Um, Getaway Clean. I know it's not on the screen, but I know that it came out in 1991. It's by Master P.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Good album, solid album, sets the tone for what No Limit Records will go on to do, but it's still just not at the finished product. And a lot of that can be said for the rest of these albums. They're great, but they don't stand out as classics. Organized Confusion, they also released an album this year.
Yes, Pheromone and Prince B. Yeah.
And that's another great album, but still very, and it's also important to note that a lot of these albums were being produced by one producer. And in this era, in this time, production equipment was incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So what you would have would be a scenario where one producer would be tasked with producing 10 albums. And at some point, not by their choice, but just natural progression, the beats may start to sound repetitive.
Yeah. So everything is so similar because you can't radically change your sound from album to album.
Or they may start to sound watered down. And if people in the chat know anything about 90s, that's where you had a lot of allegations about biting. A lot of times it wasn't particularly the artist's fault. It was more so the beat that they were given and how limiting hip hop was at that time. People were still trying things out.
Let's keep it moving, man. So remember, guys, if you're in there, subscribe, man.
Someone named Hamza would love to join the conversation.
Oh, okay, Hamza, if you DM me on Twitter, I will then send you the link. Send me a DM on Twitter. My DMs are open. I will send you the link. I'll send you the link. So guys, remember, guys, subscribe, and I will be keeping aware of super chats. So if there's any comments you desperately want to put in there while we are discussing, I will read those super chats as soon as possible, ASAP. So if not, I will try my best to look at other live things. But those super chats help with the donations to keep this content crack going, man. So I think this is where things get real. 1990, boom, here we go. The Chronic, Dr. Dre. Far Side's album. What, the album, Redman. The Predator, Ice Cube. Daily Operation Gangster. Let's see what else we're saying. Too Hard to Swallow, UGK. Can I Borrow $1, Common. So I think that's Common's debut. Don't Sweat the Technique, Eric B and Rakim. So Mama's Bad Boy, Master P. Mac Daddy, Sam Mix-a-Lot. So again, I think was slowly getting in there. But still, it's not a year that screams out to me. Again, we have to just say what's up to Dead Serious, Das Effects, but it's not a year that screams out to me. Again, similar to previous years, the only album that screams out to me as classic here is The Chronic. I think we've got good albums here, but the album that stands out is The Chronic. So if I'm only seeing one album that stands out, I can't call it a great year. So I think for 1992, we're still going through, but I think this is, The Chronic might be the first big time, huge, massive global classic of the decade that we have. So Marv, what are you saying, bro?
I would say The Chronic is was one of the earliest albums to have the right mix of lyrics and production and have a great balance. Um, just be a well-rounded effort and a classic, in my opinion. I think it did a lot of things really well. Commercially, it was superb. Lyrically, it hit the nail right on the head. Production wise, being from the West Coast, it was also great. But also other albums that need to be mentioned in this year. To me, Pete Rock's album, um, Mecca and the Soul Brother, I think was incredible. Often people make the argument that lyrically it wasn't all too there, but I think the production just being so incredible and just so immersing makes up for the shortcomings that it had lyrically. I also feel that Way Too Funky by DJ Quick, who is like, in my opinion, the pioneer of the Western sound, the West Coast sound, even till today. That sound remains organic and untouched. I think this album was superb. Not a
Chris Cross as
classic.
well. We've got to give a shout out to Chris as well. Chris
Yeah,
Cross.
Criss Cross totally crossed out. Another album that was influenced by what was going on the West Coast with the bouncy beats, the bass lines, and just how energetic the choruses are in that album. So yeah, there's solid albums in this year also. Um,
But as a year,
don't sweat the technique. Now, this is actually, in my opinion, an album that is very underappreciated and is arguably one of the best in this year. I feel as though people underrate it because Eric B and Rakim were starting to look dated in the time. They were starting to look like godfathers. And unfortunately, hip hop has this thing where, and rap at large has this thing of ageism, and we kind of
oh yeah, yeah,
disregard
yeah.
our legends and we don't give them our roses until it's too
Childish,
late.
childish, yeah, yeah, childish.
But that album, Don't Sweat the Technique, is incredible. It's not a classic, but it's incredible. Overall, I think this year was good, but
It's not a yet. That's what.
yeah, it still falls short
Yeah, I mean, you're
with
not putting
what's
it on your short list yet.
yeah.
So we've yet to had like a year. Now, could this be it? 93. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at this. Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. Midnight's Marauders, A Tribe Called Quest. Return of the Boomerang, KRS-One. Black Sunday, Cypress Hill. Strictly for my Tupac, huge. Back the F up, Onyx. Let's see, what do we say? What do we say? What do we say? Naughty by Nature's album. The World Is Yours, Scarface. In God We Trust, Brown Nubian, another good album. Till Death Do Us Part, Ghetto Boys. Organics, Roots, Represents, Fat Joe. Whoo! Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg. All right, I'll say this is our first. This is for me the first strong year of rap. The first strong year of rap because I can give you 2-3 classics now. In every other year, maybe one classic, but I think this is the first year where you have 2-3 strong classics. Amazing album, Black Rain. I mean, I need to listen to earlier ones, but Black Rain, Queen Latifah, that's a very good album. But we take Doggy Style, which I think is one of the best albums of all time. He's one of the best albums of all time. Snoop. So you take a look at Doggy Style. You look at Back the F Up, Onyx. You look at Tupac's album 3. You look at Midnight Marauders. So you arguably have 5 classics in this year. That for me is a very strong year. If you have 5 classics in that year. So yeah, 93 for me that goes on the short list. For me, that's on my short list. So Marv, talk to me. You're Marv, yeah.
Yeah, I'm right here. I think this year is stellar. I think this year also coincides with the birth of blaxploitation movies, which played a huge role in how these albums were able to even become classic. Of course, they were great. Of course, they had incredible production, incredible lyricism, but it was one of the first times where corporate America figured that they could profit from hip hop culture, and they started to incorporate a lot of these songs into blockbuster Hollywood movies. You know, you have Enter the Wu-Tang by Wu-Tang Clan, classic. Midnight Marauders, A Tribe Called Quest, classic. KRS-One, Return of the Boom, not a classic, but an incredible album
Good album, yeah.
nonetheless. Black Sunday by Cypress Hill. I can make the argument that it's a classic because of what it means to the whole of the East Coast,
Okay.
but it's not a classic when you take things into consideration at large. I think Strictly for My Niggas by Tupac was him just scratching the surface, him still struggling to find his footing. I feel as though people, because unfortunately he passed away, they kind of give that album a lot more praise.
Wait. Is this the album with Keep Your Head Up and For My Homies?
Is it the album with Keep Your Head Up for my
Keep
homie?
Your Head Up. Is this it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Wait, chat. Is this the album with them thingy, man? Because this is the last album that he does with that kind of crew. Maybe it's not, but I'm pretty sure that this is the album for. Okay, says no, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It was.
Well, one guy says, okay, you know what?
No, it's not. But you bring up the track list. I doubt it is because Keep Your Head Up came a few more years into his career, if I remember correctly, from what I know.
Track listing. It is! I knew it. Keep Your Head Up. Yeah, I knew it. So yeah, I keep your head up, I get around, and wait, where's the point? Is it Pax theme? Something. There's another really good song on this. Or maybe
Brenda's Got a Baby is also.
You see, yeah, I knew keep your head up was on this. Yeah, it's on this one. Okay, let me say something right now, and this is a precursor to the future ones. This for me, I feel is Tupac's best album, and this is my favorite album of Tupac's. Yes, we call it crazy, we call it wide. This is my favorite Tupac album.
In my opinion, it's his most mediocre album. I don't think it's his best album.
Okay, no, we'll see. So, shout out to Costly Awesome. Thank you for the dub. It says 95 and 98, the greatest years of hip hop albums. We shall see. We're getting near. We are getting, guys. We're going through the whole years. But I do agree with you that 95 is a beast of a year, an absolute beast of a year. But we'll see.
Also, another huge shout out to Back by Onyx, which is like I always say with every year that we've done so far. There are great albums that often get overlooked, and this is one of them. If anyone has not listened to it, I would implore you to go listen and check it out. Incredible album.
Throw Your Guns is huge. What's it called, man? Slam. That's a classic because, and I'll tell you this right now. What's it called? Me and my friend, they performed in London in the Jazz Cafe, and we went to go and watch them live, bro. One of the craziest live shows you'll ever see. And you know what? These guys are massive in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, huge. Because of the mosh pit heavy,
Russians and Eastern Europeans love these guys. And remember, Onyx were the first guys to really bring in that kind of aggressive, kind of really intense,
in your face type of
thing. The live show is crazy.
The thing with that album also is, if you listen to it sitting, your opinions on it are going to be much different than if you listen to it while working out or running or doing something physical. So,
there are albums that work with headphones and there are albums that work with speakers. You see, J Electronica's albums work with headphones. Onyx albums work with speakers. And that's just how it is. All right, guys. Well, keeping it moving, man. We're keeping it moving, guys. Remember, guys, like the video, subscribe. Like the video, subscribe. We're giving you that content crack. Like the video, subscribe. Um. All right. So what are we doing here? So 1994 rap albums. Whoo-wee! Oh boy. Oh boy. So, wow. Illmatic Nas. Nothing to say. Ready to Die Biggie. Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. Outcast. The Diary Scarface. Regulates Warren G. Stress, The Extinction Agenda, Organized Confusion. Resurrection, Common. There is a Dark Side, Redman. Oh my god. Tickle, Method Man. The main ingredients, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Funk the Fight, the Brat. Super Tight, UGK. What else? What else are you saying, man? What else are I saying, man? Blunted on Reality, Fugees. So, not a bad album. Not a bad album. Same as it ever was. House of Pain. Not a bad album. Very good album. Very good album. Obviously, their Self-Debut is a big one, but that was a good album by House of Pain.
The Gravediggers 6 Feet Deep album is incredible. Absolute masterpiece. Well put together body of work. And I think the reason why it isn't regarded as a classic is because they weren't yet established in their lyricism. I think the lyricism kind of, as the album progresses, it starts to tail off. But this year, I think, is just massive.
Basically, this is a big year. Gerald the Damage as well. The song
Illmatic goes without saying. Ready to Die goes without saying. Classics, both of them. Outcast, I can argue that Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music is a classic. There are people who often disregard it and disrespect it only because of it's Southern and Atlanta.
I want to just see what is because I want to see how this differentiates from Aquemini. So I want to just see the track listing for this. So this has Players Ball, Cleaning Through, Funk Run, Get Up, Get Out, huge track, Crumbling Herb. And I'm crumbling herb. There's in this world. He just crumbling herb. You can argue, but it isn't Aquemini. See, Aquemini is when they really said what's up. But you'd have to make that. See, for me, Illmatic, Ready to Die, you don't even have to argue. You don't even have to argue for those. Southern Playalistic, you have to be like, okay, look, I can make an argument. Resurrection, Common, that's a big album, bro. That's a big album by Common, and people don't really look at that. That's a big album. Stress, good, decent album. But I think the albums that really stand out for me are Illmatic and Ready to Die. You know, but for me, 93 is looking better, I think, as a whole. I think 93 is looking better as a year.
I would say 94 just edges it off. And you know
you can't just because you can't see because we have to look at the amounts of classics. Look, remember, we named 5. We named 5 in 93. We are saying so, and we're trying to make an argument for a third. We said 5 off the bat, no arguments. 5 were in 93. 94, Illmatic, Ready to Die, boom, cool. Southern Playalistic, okay, we have to make an argument. Resurrection is not a known classic. It's just a very good album. So the rest are just really good albums. So if you're looking at the numbers...
You see, that's the thing with 94. Like I pointed out with the Gravediggers, and we also pointed that out with Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. A lot of Southern acts started to rap, and they put out really cohesive, well put together, solid bodies of work that can be argued to be classics, but they often get disrespected by the hip hop and rap culture because they're from Southern acts. On the outside looking in by 8 Ball and MJG, if it's put out by a East Coast MC, I think it's critically acclaimed. Coolio's first album, It Takes a Thief, if it's put out by an act that's from the East Coast, it's arguably critically acclaimed. A lot of these regions weren't respected, and therefore their artists had to suffer for it. You know, Master P, The Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me. That's an incredible body of work. But because him being from Louisiana, not being affiliated to any of the big movements in rap culture at that time, he often gets disregarded. But I think overall, when you take everything into consideration and how this year hip hop even globalized much more, you just have to give 1994 the edge. You know, there are two classics off the bat, and then there's just more than a handful of arguable
No, but
classics.
but if you just look at it mathematically, doesn't a year with more classics and other decent albums defeats a year with two classics and pretty good albums? Because okay, let's look at '93 again. Maybe just to remind ourselves. So '93, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, Midnight Marauders, A Tribe Called Quest. We had the Cypress Hill album, Back the F Up, Onyx, Naughty by Nature. I think we already said Doggy Style. Bro, I mean, these are some heavy freaking albums, man. Some heavy albums. Some people will even argue 93 till Infinity, Souls of Mischief in there. So, for me, I think, no, 94 is strong, but I think that we may be blinded by Illmatic and Ready to Die. And also, do you want me to be real with you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ready to Die doesn't age well.
Yeah. In hindsight, listening to it today, listening to it in coronavirus world, it kind of sounds outdated.
It's like, you see, because that's what a classic is. A classic is that it's amazing wherever you want. Like, Illmatic is a classic. I love Southern playalistic card-like music. I love it. Is it a classic? I think it's still a very good album. A really good album. But I don't know whether it's on that classic status, because for me, it's like, for me, the bona fide classic in this, for me, is really Illmatic. As a one that doesn't age, because then if we now go to 93, Wu-Tang, classic. Midnight Marauders, classic. Doggy. So there are three classics where you can place right now, and we're good.
And that is what ultimately works to the disadvantage of 1994. Exactly what you've just said. There's a ton of really good albums that just fall short of being classic. Even 3 6 Mafia's debut album is incredible. And even if you were to listen to it today, based on how experimental they were back then, they don't sound out of place. But it just does not get the tag of being called a classic. In my opinion, I would put 1994 slightly above 1993, and I guess we agree to disagree. We'll let the chat decide.
Yeah, man, we'll let the chat decide, man. So now this is the year that I felt was the strongest year before I ever went through. 1995. Me Against the World Tupac. The infamous Mobb Deep. Only Built for Cuban Links. Liquid Swords. Return of the 36 Chambers. Soulful Goody Mob. Bone Thugs and Harmony. What's it called? Eternal. Do or Die, AZ. Bro, you can make an argument that album is better than Illmatic. I don't know whether you want to have that conversation. I don't know whether you will be prepared to have that conversation. I can make an argument, not now, but I can make an argument that Do or Die is probably a better album than Illmatic. But we'll forget about that. Lifestyles of I think this is the Poor and the Dangerous, Big L's debut album. Fast, bro, this year is insane. This is an insane freaking year. This year is insane. And also, this year, I think had the best album that a white rap has ever made, which is The Milk Bone, The Milk Rate, which is for me one of the most, which I think is one of the best produced albums ever. But the guy that does Naughty by Nature, the production on that album, The Milk Rates, is insane. But bro, man, this is an incredible year.
I think I agree with you. I think a
This
strong
album is
argument could be made that Do or Die is better than Illmatic. Shh. That's an argument. It can be made.
it can be
But
made. But not now, not now, not now.
Me Against the World, classic. The infamous, one of my favorite rap albums of all time. Classic.
Although I think I prefer Hell on Earth though, but still.
Return to the 36 Chambers. If above anything else you wanted to say that ODB was dysfunctional, he couldn't really, his way of rapping was disorganized, his lyricism was too out there, you have to say his creativity, his willingness to experiment, his willingness to take risks on record, make that album so good that it's difficult to ignore. Great album. 1995 is really just superb. KRS-One, that KRS-One album that dropped in this year is my favorite KRS-One album. Living Proof by Group Home, incredible album. Safe Plus Sound by DJ Quick. You see, DJ Quick, I feel like history does not remember him as well as it should. And I think that's a result of him not being as out there. He was kind of reclusive, but he had some incredible albums. Safe Plus Sound by DJ Quick is another incredible album. 8 Ball and MJG, On Top of the World, great album. It's
bro, this year is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous year. It's a ridiculous year.
Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
great album.
It's a very strong year. I mean, it's a very strong. I mean, like
99 Ways to Die by Master P. Great album.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Argue 7 classics, maybe. We have about 6 or 7 classics in 1 year, which is insane. Oh, no, 7, because here. Wait. Is this? I just want to look at this track listing for. Yeah, this is one with cross. Guy, nah, man, bro, I'm sorry, man. This is a crazy year. Mamada. Oh man, nah. Yeah, bro, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be hard for anybody to beat 95. I don't know how any year beats 95, but we'll see, man. We'll keep on going, man. So I'm keeping score. So you've said, so you're saying 94 and 95 on your short list.
Yeah, 94 and 95.
So for me, 93 and 95 are on my short list right now. So guys in the live chat, tell me what's on your short list. So I've got 93, 95 on my short list. You've got 94, 95. So let's go to 96. Okay, let's talk. Okay, let's talk. All Eyes on Me, Tupac. The Score, Fugees. 80 Aliens, Outkast. Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z. It Was Written, Nas. Oh my gosh. Oh. Beats, Rhymes, and Life. My favorite Tribe Called Quest album. Tribe Called Quest. Boss Rhymes, The Coming. Muddy Waters, Redman. Hardcore, Lil Kim. Iron Man's. Oh my God. This is a year. At the Speed of Life, Exhibits. Firing Squad, MOP. Il Nana, Foxy Brown. I'm pretty sure, or maybe Missy Elliott was in 97, I think. Wow. So, bro, amazing album. Chino Excel. Here to Save You All. Amazing album. Bro, because again, this is what my big brother had, Ice-T, 6, Return of the Real. Quality album. Bro, 96 was strong, man. This was, I mean, so basically we have, so people say All Eyes Made classic, although I think it was written, you can argue it's a classic. Reasonable Doubt, yeah, we get it. 80 Aliens, boom, we get it. The score, we get it. Beats Drums in Life, we get it. So what do you think about 96?
I think 96 has one, two, three, four. I think 96 has 5 classics.
Okay, name them. What
I
are the
would
5?
I would regard All Eyes on Me by Tupac, even though it's not my favorite Tupac album. I would regard it to be a classic. Reasonable Doubt, I regard to be a classic. Outkast, 80 Aliens is a classic.
Yes. Yeah.
The Score by the Fugees,
Yes.
in my opinion, is a classic.
Yep.
So that's 4. And I think it's a toss-up between UGK's Riding Dirty and Ghostface Killer's Iron Man.
So you're not saying Beats Drums in Life is a classic?
In my opinion, no.
It's a bro. Okay, when last did you listen to that album?
3-4 years ago.
Do you really?
4 years ago.
That's for me. That is. But remember, Jay Dilla is one of the greats in terms of production, and I mean, you must know, being a music producer yourself, his production on that is stellar. Stellar work. Absolute stellar work from top to bottom. The production on that is creme de la creme. So for me, I'm making an argument that Beats Rhymes of Life is a classic. So for me, for me, forget about, I'm already putting 96 on my shortlist. Putting 96 on my, see, as I said again, I said the golden years, early 90s, mid 90s, we're now getting into where we're now seeing truly classic albums right now.
I wouldn't put 96 on my short list only because
Iron Man Ghostface.
That's my 5th classic. That's my 5th classic. But I wouldn't put 96 on my short list because I have a year that I think just usurps a lot of years. And I kind of want to save that slot because there are also other years that I want to fit in. But this year was stacked.
See, my thing is that we're going through so many years here. A short list is a short. Remember, we have to now pick a year. So a short list can be as many, but then we'll then go back to our short list, and then we now have to now whittle it out and now, you know what, pick a year. So I'm putting this on my short list. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna pick it, but it's definitely one to consider when I now say, okay, now which is now going to be my year that I'm going to pick as number 1 year. So for me, so 96, so 93, 95, 96. So you're not putting 96 on your short list then.
No, I'm not putting 96. I'm not putting 96. But there are 5 certified classics in this year, but I'm not putting it.
97. Wu-Tang Forever, Wu-Tang Clan, Life After Death, B.I.G., In My Lifetime, Volume 1, Jay-Z, The War Reports, Capone and Noriega, Super Duper Fly, Missy Elliott, When Disaster Strikes, Busta Rhymes, No Way Out, Puff Daddy, Harlem World, Mace. Good album. 18th Letter Rakim. This is Keras One's best album. I Got Next. That is his best album. Are You Still Down, Tupac? Okay, I'll be real with you. Cool. Doesn't make my short list. But it is cool. Cool, yeah.
I think this year,
good album. Fantastic.
I think this year is very, very deceiving. At face value, it looks like it ought to be a year that makes the short list or a heavy hitting year. But when you really go into it and start to listen to some of these albums, no, not at all. I think there's only really 2 classics. There's one, just in my opinion, Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang's Forever is the one classic in this year. And then you can make the argument for Puff Daddy's No Way Out.
Is Wu-Tang Forever a classic?
In my opinion, yes, 100%.
I have to agree to disagree, man.
100%, but in my opinion. But then you can try and make an argument for Life After Death by Big, who I think posthumously people regard as a classic, but I don't think it is. I think it's just sentiment that make people look at that album in that way. And then Missy Elliott, Breakthrough, Super Duper Fly. You can argue that that's a classic, but I think
It's not her best album. It was when she was just introduced. She had not really hit her stride yet, which we'll see in the next few years.
and that's why I say 97. When you look at these albums and the names, you may say wow, but then when you start to listen and really analyze, and it just ends up being lukewarm. With 97, I say lukewarm.
Yeah, but like I say, like 97 was cool, but wasn't really my thing, man. 98, Aquemini, Outcast. Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, Mos Def, and Tariq Kweli, Black Star. Okay. The Love Movements, Rebel, Capital Punishments, Big Pun, Moments of Truth, The Gangster. Ooh, okay, this is an interesting. Flesh of My Blood, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, DMX. Um, when Black Eyed Peas were actually like an album. Oh, you see, but that's not a rap album. I mean, I'm going to ask you on that. Docs the Name 2000. Uh, 98, I don't know. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. Okay, so this is when DMX brought out 2 albums. 98. Okay, let me ask you this. Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Rap album or hybrid?
I think it's a hybrid. And I think because it's a hybrid that was done and was birthed from a black artist with a rap background, it's sort of just thrown into rap and hip hop and labeled as that. But I think it borrows from a lot of other genres. It is heavily influenced by a lot of other genres. The production, the rap style, it's more spoken wordish.
Yeah.
So it's not rap, but I think because Lauryn Hill has the background that she does, and she's heavily associated with a lot of rap acts, it's classified as a rap album. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, for me, this year is cool, but the only albums that jump out to me this year are Capital Punishments, Big Pun, Black Star, Mos Def, Talib Kweli, and Aquemini, Outcast. And you could also argue Moments of Truth, Gangster, but really the ones for me that's basically the classics, Moments of Truth, Gangster, Capital Punishment, Black Star, and Aquemini. Which
Are
you could
you
argue those are pretty good, 4 classes, but for me it's also
would you
DMX
would
as
you would you
well.
like to hear this hot take?
Or what?
Personally, I think 98 gave better offerings than 96.
It
And I
was.
actually I actually want 98 on my short list.
Oh wow.
Outcast, Aquemini, DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. That album is a masterpiece to me. Jay-Z, Hard Knock Life Volume 2. Not his best album, but still a highly regarded album.
But
And
but but not one of his best albums, bro. Let's keep it real. It's not one of his best albums, man.
it's not, but then it's also a great album. It's not his best album, but
Great,
it's a great album in my opinion.
great.
But it's
No, okay, you can say
you
great is a
see,
big word. You can't call it great. Come on, bro.
I think that album gets kind of devalued because you're kind of ranking Jay-Z against himself. But when you compare that album to a lot of other albums from similar acts, similar rappers, it's head and shoulders above the rest. If you take away who Jay-Z is and you attribute this album to any other rap artist,
It's a
it's
decent album. It's not
incredible.
it's not a great album. It's a decent album. For me, a great album is a great album. It doesn't matter whether it's Jay Z or anything. A great album is a great album. And to say a great album is great, like for me, it's like Black Star. Those are great albums. Big Punk, those are great albums. Volumes, I can't really put it in that kind of great category. But so for no, 98 is cool. And funny thing
You
about
know,
98,
an album that people never regard in this year, and it's right there on the screen, and I don't know why. I feel like now people are starting to regard it, but 400 Degrees by Juvenile.
oh, not my thing, man. Not my thing.
What this album means to the South, what it means to the culture in Louisiana, what it means to just hip hop that a lot of for a long period of time was marginalized because they weren't looked at as being artists that could produce lyrics. And I think Juvenile just took what they were known for, which is their bounce and their party and their happy, just go easy lifestyle, and he fused it to the best of his ability with lyricism and substance. And I think he did it really well. And I think that
Also,
album, unfortunately, is underappreciated.
yeah, I mean, not just because I tried listening to it and just now know my thing, but I mean, I appreciate for what it did for the South. But one thing though, so basically, there's a video where you have it's Cannabis, DMX, Big Pun, Mos Def, all doing like a kind of a cipher around like a coffee table with this journalist called Toure. Because the funny thing, but the key thing about 98, it was the debut of a lot of big time rappers. So 98 was a big turning point because it was Big Pun's debut, it was DMX's debut, and it was Cannabis's debut. And the thing about Cannabis is his career got derailed because he picked the wrong producer. Because really, I still say that Cannabis is technically speaking, in terms of just the science of rapping, bar for bar and so forth, is the best rapper I think that has ever lived. That is a crazy lofty thing, but just in terms of just the art and science of rapping, he's the best rapper that's ever lived. But the issue is that that's not enough. You need to make music. And his debut album didn't hit because the beats were awful. Horrible, horrible, awful. Although, go listen to How We Roll by Cannabis, which has for me one of the greatest verses in any rap song of all time, which is his final verse on how we roll. So 98, I think the big thing of 98 was Big Pun and DMX. I think they ruled that year based on their debuts and how they really were able to take things to the next level. And obviously, Outcast Aquemini. So, okay, so 98 is going on your shortlist.
100%.
Okay. So basically, remember, keep notes of your shortlist. 99. Things Fall Apart, The Roots, Slim Shady, LP, Eminem, O1, Dr. Dre, Black on Both Sides, Mos Def, I Am, Nas, Operation Doomsday, MF Doom, Internal Affairs, Pharoah Monch. I thought that came out in 98. Murder Music, Mobb Deep, The Real World, Missy Elliott. Nostradamus. Okay, right. So okay, this year, let me talk to you about this year. Now, first of all, let me just give a shout out to this album. I keep saying the people this is album. The best display of rapping ever on an album by a rapper is this Internal Affairs Pharoah Monch. His rapping on this is ridiculous. I've never seen a guy rap so well on an album as he did on this, and it's a very, very, very good album that people sleep on. For me, the album that really stands out for me this year is Black on Both Sides, Mos Def. His debut album, incredible album, amazing album. And the funny thing is because obviously, Mos Def, Pharoah Monch, Talib Kweli, Commando, sort of like in the same kind of crew and so forth. So again, it was very key that both Mos Def and Pharoah Monch both debuted in the same year. But I think really Black on Both Sides was, I think this was the album that really sort of made the headway and had the real impact. And that's it. See, 2001, is that a classic? You see, 2001 had some of the biggest songs. I don't think it's that great an album. Same thing, Slim Shady LP, impactful songs. I wouldn't call it a classic album. 2001, I wouldn't call that a classic album, but it had some really big songs. The only classic album here for me is Black on Both Sides, Mos Def. What do you say, Mav?
I think this year has, rest in peace to MF Doom. I think Operation Doomsday is a classic album. Um, and I think even more so now that he's passed away. And when people go back and revisit that album, they'll notice that it does not sound out of place at all. Things Fall Apart by the Roots is a classic album in my opinion. The Slim Shady LP is a classic album, regardless of how we feel about M present day. I
Mm.
think that's a classic album. Um, I think 1999 is arguably a very very solid year.
Solid. I didn't say it was
Yes.
bad. It's a solid year. Is it a classic year? Do you put it on your short list? I don't put that on my short list, but it's a solid year.
Let me just go look through some of these albums. Hmm. This was when okay. This is when Snoop Dogg goes over and joins my Master P and becomes No Limit. Yeah, I don't put it on my short list. I think it falls just short, but it's still a very. It has some hidden gems this year. Eve, Let There Be Eve.
Mm.
That's a great album.
Yeah, I mean, 99 is a good year. You see, 99 has two albums that I personally love. Black on Both Sides, Most Def, Internal Affairs, Fair Munch. But as a year, objectively speaking, for me, yeah, it doesn't really make my shortlist. So now we now go into the 2000s, man. 2000, Marshall Mathers LP, Stankonia Outcast, um, Back for the First Time, Ludacris, Fantastic, Volume 2, Slum Village, Country Grammar, Nelly. um, The Last Meal, Snoop Dogg, Restless Exhibit, The W, Woods. That was all right. That was an all right album. Daddy Harriet's Rat Digger, 2000 BC Cannabis, much better album. Quality, Let's Get Free, Dead Press, very very big album, man. 2000.
Are you just gonna gloss over Country Grammar by Nelly? That album was great. You see, and that's an overarching theme that you'll notice no matter the year that we're in. Southern art acts often get overlooked because they're from the South.
No, no, no,
That
no,
that
no.
album is good.
Let me be real with you. What's it called? I'm going down, down, baby. I played the living heck out of that and also remember this is when you used to buy singles. So I went into HMV and I purchased the single of Country Grammar and also anybody want to take around with me? Hey, must be the money. So here's the thing, though. You see, it's difficult because that album, Country Grammar, was very much of its time. Does Country Grammar still work in 2021? You see, for me, Marshall Mathers LP has aged like milk. You cannot play that in 2021. No, that's just a vibe killer. Country Grammar, you see, Stankonia still hits because it's Outcast. Outcast are just a quality band. Because think about the South is that what Southern music, I think can do better, and it is better because South is more about a vibe rather than content, you know. So because it's a vibe and a musical vibe, it can always go through. So even if you listen to Country Grammar and it's like, oh yeah, this is 2000, where was I in 2000? You can still appreciate its musicality. So yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, yeah.
I agree with The Truth by Beanie Siegel. Wow. I think that came out this year. Did it? Yeah, it did. Look, it's right there in the corner.
Mm.
That's also a very, very, very good album. The Last of a Dying Breed by Scarface. I think 2000 is much better than 99. And I think even lyrically it's much better than 99.
Yeah, I mean, no, 2000 is a
When
good.
the smoke clears by 3 6 Mafia. Yeah. 2000 is a very, very good year.
It's a good one. There are some good
And I
albums here.
I agree
War
with your point on
Cold as Ice, Warriors, or MOP.
I agree with your point on the Marshall Mathers LP. And
Oh,
I think the thing with Eminem is a lot of his albums just did not age well. A lot.
you
That
know,
point could be made for a lot of his albums.
no, because that is the issue you'll see with Eminem. Because like at the time, he made when you listen to the lyrics, it was very much about pop stars, homophobic stuff, and everything. So remember, late 90s, early 2000, it was when people were doing edgy stuff. It was the attitude era in wrestling. So even the kind of films that were being brought out, everything was edgy, pushing the envelope. That's when the whole parental advisory thing was even came much more back in the fold, previous to where it was during NWA and Tipper Gore. So what Eminem was and the kinds of things we're saying was very kind of relevant to the time. In 2021, where it's about music, where Drake is now the king now, that provocative stuff has no place anymore. It sounds so when you hear, it's like, wait, what's this guy singing about this stuff? Man, let me just listen to some Kendrick, some J. Cole that can actually give me a vibe. So yeah, it's his music, it's ages like milk. It ages very badly. All right, 2001.
And you also this is another thing that people never take into consideration. Usually albums that sound dated when you listen to them, they often have one thing in common. They name drop and they date drop a lot.
Yes,
So
yes.
a lot of Eminem's previous albums, he often rapped about what was the trend then, what was edgy to
What
do
was
then,
happening here?
what was happening in pop culture, pop stars that were huge then that he claimed to have slept with.
Mm-mm-mm.
He rapped about the time. So any rapper who fills his or her album with dates, names of popular things in the year, it doesn't bode well for the
Yeah,
future.
no, no. It's I talking about Britney Spears,
Yeah,
Christina Aguilera, Fred Durst, Lincoln, and
because when
Limp
you
Bizkits.
when you fast forward 20 years in the future and you listen to that album, you're going to be like, ew, did
Yeah, it's
we
like what
really
is?
like that? Did we
Yeah,
really,
but but but, but then
it's cringeworthy.
when you listen to like an Illmatic or you listen to Enter the 36 Chambers, they just talk about stuff in a very general sense. So it isn't very too specific. So you can always enjoy and enter the 36 Chambers. You can always enjoy an Illmatic. You can always even enjoy a Reasonable Doubt because they're just rapping about themes that will always be ever present fully. So you can always go back to, oh yeah, this is good. I can still connect with it because what he was saying then is still prevalent now.
And that
So
is why most rap albums who center a lot of their subject around hardship and the come up are all and the grind are often considered classics because that's something that can always be related to,
always, always.
regardless of time.
Okay, oh one. Blueprints. Stillmatic. Wow. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that easy. But let me just go through. Um, Iron Flag, Wu Tang, Scorpion, Eve. Um, interesting number, Black Trash, the autobiography of Kirk Jones, Sticky Fingers, The Great Depression, DMX. Okay. I mean, this is looking pretty good. Word of Mouth, Ludacris, Miss E, So Addictive, very good album. Missy Elliott, um, good album. Expansions, Him, Deleted Peoples, My Peoples Comes First. Pain is Love, Ja Rule. Until the End of Time, Tupac, obviously, posthumous album. You know what? 2001 is a sleeper of a year. This is a sneakily good year because I think this is the album that has Who We Be, The Great Depression. Because you have two sledgehammers here in the Stillmatic and Blueprints. Two absolute huge sledgehammers. And obviously this was the year of Jay-Z Nas. So Blueprint, Stillmatic, The Great Depression.
That Busta Rhymes Genesis album, it has some very, very interesting songs on it. Word
So
of
what?
Mouth by Ludacris. Yeah,
Yes.
I think this year is very. It's another deceiving year, but positively deceiving.
Mm.
On face value, it may look like a year that doesn't really have much, but when you really dive in, it has some hidden gems. And I wanted to bring this up because I think from 2000 you sort of see a divide. So there start to be albums that are all across the board collectively agreed to be classics and mainstream classics, but they're also like underground classics.
Mm,
So when you say like someone like Cannabis or Milkbone,
mm,
maybe collectively their albums are not looked at as classics, but in their respective niche and underground, a lot of those out. For example, Ghetto Fabulous by Fabulous in the Bronx, where I am, that
mm.
album you cannot tell anyone that that album is not a classic. It
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
classic.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that's also something we should take into consideration. You know,
So what are we saying about this year? Oh one.
I think it's a, I think it's a
It's all
good
right.
year,
It's all
but
right.
it doesn't get into my short list either.
No. All right, let's keep it moving, man. O2, The Blueprint 2, The Fix, Eminem Show, Quality Tab Quality, Lost Tapes Nas, Nellyville Nelly, Lord Willing Clips, Godson Nas. Okay. Under Construction, Missy Elliott. Paid the cost to be the boss. I'm telling you right now, 2002 ain't too bad. My Club, their curriculum, that's another good Cannabis album. Man vs. Machine Exhibit. This isn't a bad year. This isn't a bad year. Under Construction was a quality album. God's Son, quality album. Lord Willing is a very good album. That is a very good album. And I think Clips,
Lord Willing is one of my favorite rap albums of all time.
bro, is I told you, we're gonna have like another stream where we talk about the best rap groups. Clips, those guys, that was a very good rap group. And Lord Willing, because what's it called? There's a song on my playlist, Gangster Lane, quality song. The Fix. This is a. Is also better than O1?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, I mean O2. I think O2 is better than O1 because I think we have some really good albums here. We have some really. I mean, chat. What are you saying? O2 over O1? What are we saying? O2 over one because O2 is looking alright. O2 is looking alright. Blueprint 2, I don't know. I'm not really sure whether I can really vouch for Blueprint 2. But see again,
I think Blueprint 2 is Jay-Z's worst album.
I think O2 is alright. You see, but you can see now that as we're now going in here, we're now seeing less and less classics in terms of 3, 4, 5 classics. All right. So well, some people are not really feeling O2. People are still saying O1. All right, let's go to O3. Get Rich or Die Trying, 50 Cent, Speaker Box and the Love Below, The Double Thing, Outcast, Diplomatic Immunity, Diplomats, Chicken and Beer, Ludacris, Philadelphia Freeway, Monster, Killer Mike, Boy in the Corner, Dizzy Rascal, Neptunes Presents, Streets Dreams, Fabulous, Papa Sparks, Grand Champ, DMX. The albums that stick out to me, I would say, are Grand Champ, DMX, Chicken and Beer, Ludacris, Diplomatic Immunity, because that was the really big Dipset movement. Double album, Get Rich or Die Trying. But I'll real with you. The only album that is a classic here in this year is Get Rich or Die Trying. Shout out to them not putting Joe Budden's album here. But yeah, Get Rich or Die Trying for me is the only classic here. I wasn't a fan of the Outcast double album. Some good songs, but as far as an album goes, I wasn't really a fan of that double album. I think it was just too many songs. Bro, the Black Album is a very good album. I totally forgot. That's a good album. On the down low, that is one of Jay-Z's best albums. That is one of Jay-Z's best albums, is the Black Album. So you could argue Get Rich or Die Trying, Black Album, and Diplomatic Immunity.
Uh, I agree. I would say, yeah, I would say Diplomatic Immunity. I would say Get Rich or Die Trying. I would say Speaker Box. I actually want this year on my short list. Yeah, Smash It.
Oh,
I agree. I agree. I want this year on my short list. Get Rich or
okay.
Die Trying, the Black Album, Speaker Box, The Love Below. Uh, but still great. See, the thing is, there are certain albums that are because I kind of critique them in accordance to other works by the same artist.
Hmm.
So in their catalog, it might be like average, but in the grand scheme of things, compared to other people's other artists' bodies of work, it's really good. Diplomatic Immunity, of course. Ti's trap music again. A southern artist gets just disregarded. That album is really, really good. Chicken and Beer, MF Doom. MF Doom, I think, released two albums this year. I
Yeah,
think he
yeah, yeah.
released
Take Me to Your Leader,
something
Vaudeville Villain.
Villain. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Vaudeville Villain.
I think I've heard both of them. I think Take Me to Your Leader is the better one. I love both of those albums. Are they classics? No. And I feel, a part of me feels bad for saying they're not classics because I know that the type of cult following that MF
Hmm.
Doom had, his passing would make them look back on these albums and just say they're classics, they're classics. But if we're being objective,
Gotta
great
be
albums,
objective.
but not classics.
So okay, so all three makes your shortlist.
Yeah, it makes my short list.
No, it doesn't make mine. But it's a good year though. Good year. I respect the year. Oh four, College Dropouts. Encore Eminem. Mad Village. So I think this is might be MF Doom again. Some MF Doom. Streets Disciple Nas. The Pretty 20 album Ghostface. Purple Haze Cameron. D12 World D12. Red Lights Districts. Ludacris. What are we saying about oh 04?
I think oh 04. The thing about oh 04 to me is the college dropout to me is a classic, but then it kind of just waters out, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like for me, apart from College Dropouts, is any album even in the same kind of
Ma- okay,
ballpark as College Dropout?
um, Mad Villainy, but it isn't compared to College Dropout. No, but it's an album that stands in its own. Mad Villainy by MF Doom stands in its own as a great album. Um, Encore by Eminem, that's a good album too, but
Nah.
it gets overrated because it's Eminem, and that's another issue. Urban Legend by Ti. When you compare it to trap music that he put out the year before, it's kind of a drop off. So I think 2004 is when you look at the names, you're excited, but when you really start to listen in depth, you're left disappointed, in my opinion. But I think there are people that really applaud this year, but I just don't see it. I don't know why.
So not on the short list.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, all right. Oh 05. Late Registration, Kanye West. Be Common, the documentary, The Game. The Massacre, 50 Cents. The Karatsu, Lil Wayne. People's Champ, Paul Wall. Let's Get It, Thug Motivation, Jeezy. Trill, Bun B. Yeah, I'm not feeling this year.
Me neither. And it's ironic because this is one of the years where when artists saw what Kanye did at the Grammys, how he swept the Grammys, everyone had this like, oh, hip hop, oh my God, we're gonna have our run, ah! But the art just did not match the hype.
Bro. You're now slowly seeing the decline happening.
Yeah, you're starting to see just the fast food mentality
You
creep
see, you
in,
see, see,
the
because obviously this
commercialism.
is before we get into Kendrick and thingy. Because by now you're not seeing how things have just switched and changed, and how it's becoming very watered down to what it was before. But let's just keep going. So, '06, King Ti, Food and Liquor, Lupe Fiasco, Release Therapy, Ludacris, Game Theory, The Roots, Doctors Advocates, The Game, Idlewild, Outcast, Hip Hop is Dead, Nas,
Port of Miami
Army,
by
Rick
Rick
Ross,
Ross. That's really good.
Kingdom Come, Jay-Z, Blood Money, Mob Deep. Nah. What about you? What say you?
I think exactly what I just said. That's 2006 for me.
Let's go to that.
But there are albums though that are
Yeah.
like, for example, Father Like Son. It's a good album, but it's nowhere close to being a classic. But it's a good album. This is one of the years where I really like this year. It's just so fortunate because even more so now that I'm sitting down and having this conversation and really looking at the disparity between in quality, it's even more appalling. Like the drop off
Yeah.
is huge.
No, because see, and I'll tell you this. This is this is yes. This is around the time when I left rap and I began to listen to more rock music and grunge music. Because I was like, yeah. So I remember around this time, '05, '06, '07, I was like, I didn't even know what rap albums were being released because I was like, rap had just sort of so gone down the tubes. I just began listening to other kinds of music. So I was more into grunge, alternative rock, and everything. Because yeah, this is nah. All right, let's keep it going, man. '07, American Gangster, Jay-Z, Quality, Graduation, Kanye West, Ti versus Tip, Ti, Buck the World, Young Buck, Desire, Pharoah Monch. I actually went to the store to actually buy that album. Um, else Curtis, 50 Cent, Jesus Christ was. Uh, um, Rich Boy. What are we saying, man?
Graduation.
Quality album. Probably his best. Probably his best. You would argue that's probably for me. I think. Wait, let me just look at the track list for this again because I think this might actually be my favorite Kanye West album. Track listing. Yes, this is it. This is my favorite. I think this is his best album. This is my favorite album. Oh yes, this is it. This is it. Quality album. Quality album. You know, when the guy actually used to actually make freaking music. Yeah, for me, nah. Like for me, the only album that stands up for me here is Graduation. And that's it.
There's actually an album that came out this year. It's by Saul Williams. It's called The Inevitable. I would employ anyone that hasn't heard it to go listen to it. It's a great body of work. And it's another album similar to Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation that I feel is a fusion and just experimental, but people just clamp it into rap and hip hop because of the messenger, the artist.
So yeah, '07. Thanks, but no thanks, bro. '08. The Carter 3. Okay. That's definitely a big one. Paper Trail, Ti, Untitled, Nas, Thriller, '08, Ego Trip with Snoop Dogg. 808 and Heartbreak. Nah, sorry. Um, um, yeah. I think the only one that speaks to me here really is the Carter 3, and that's it. So what are you saying about 08?
Uh, I think '08 had a lot of empty space. You know, kind of when you're baking and they say try your best to prevent air from getting into the dough and the mix.
Mm.
I think '08 the saran wrap didn't do its job and there's a lot of air in this year. But there are some albums that for example what I said Underground.
Yeah, you see, I think this was the era in a way because that's what it was.
Yeah, a lot
So
of mainstream acts sort of started to disappoint and underground indie
was
acts
popped
were
off.
blossoming.
But
Um
obviously it was hard for me to really get into that because obviously I was like, okay, what's on the radio, what's on the stuff, and all that was being fed to me was just this mainstream trash. But this is when underground was really hot and like mixtapes and everything were really the
yeah,
thing. So
Rest in Heaven, Stack Bundles, one of the best mixtape artists in the East Coast region, New York, Dipset, affiliated with just Stack Bundles. The underground scene was booming at this time, and there were some underground albums who managed to just pop their heads off up in the mainstream market. The Definition of Real by Plies is an album that was so hot underground in the South and in Florida that the mainstream just had to pay attention. Still the Baddest by Trina is another album that underground was incredible and just based on just the collective push, it came and showed its head on the mainstream. But as far as the mainstream acts, they disappointed in 2008.
I mean, yeah,
But
this is
here's the thing
just
though. I say that, but I can also say with the sound that we have in hip hop today with Lil Uzi Vert, Travis Scott, Nav, there's very, very strong influence to 808s and heartbreaks within their sound. Even Drake to a certain degree with the whole singing and rapping blend, and
yeah. I
you can
mean,
make that argument and you could see that linear connection.
you can make the arguments, but for me, I judge an album on its merits and so forth. And 808 and Heartbreak for me, the last quality album Kanye made was Graduation, and that was it. Ever since then, it's not really popped off for me. '09, Blueprints 3. Is this like a remix? Only Bins for Cuba Links. Paul Part 2. Static. Relapse. Deeper Than Rap, Rick Ross. Come Out the Abstracts, Q-Tip. Crime Pays, Cameron. Nah. So Far Gone, but then that was sort of like his mixtape thing. So this is obviously the first introduction from Drake. Yeah, nah. There he is, padded room, Joe Budden. Yeah, nah.
Did, did you see that absurd list that came out maybe 2 years ago now
Oh,
that
Joe
put
Budden.
Joe Budden as the third best rapper of all time?
Oh, look, that guy's hilarious, man. So look, '09, man, is not really popping off, is it? No.
Man on the Moon, Man on the Moon is a classic, in my opinion. But then it's the only okay. Another album, the Gucci Mane album, in terms of mixtapes and what it was doing in the streets, it's an album that was birthed within that culture, but it just exploded that mainstream labels had to pick it up and it became a mainstream album. But that's another. And this is an era where being lyrical is not as important. So There's certain albums that people consider to be classics after 2005 that they take lyricism for granted, and that can you can afford them that because lyricism was sort of washed out. So that Gucci Mane album, people argue it's a classic, but if you were like a rap head, you would say why it isn't lyrical.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But culturally, what it means to the region, what it means to the lifestyle of the people that he was representing and speaking to with his music, drug dealers in Atlanta, Zone 6, Zone 3, Zone 4, it's a classic, you know?
Does Onan make your shortlist?
No, no, no.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, 2010, man. So we're now coming into the previous decade. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Thank Me Later, Rick Ross Teflon Don, Pink Friday, an album that I couldn't finish, B.O.B. Presents, Recovery, Eminem, I'm Not a Human Being, Lil Wayne, Spehash, Crit Was Here, Big Crit, No Mercy, T.I. So this is what I'll say about this year. I'm not a fan of my Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I appreciate its impact. I'm just not a fan. I'll tell you this right now. Thank Me Later is a classic album. And this was the first time because I used to hate Drake. Like, really hate it. It's like, who is this cheesy dude? It's so good that I own Thank Me Later on CD. I actually bought and found the CD of Thank Me Later. That is from top to bottom, that is a great album. So that for me is a classic album. So for me, I think in 2010, things begin to get slightly better. It's slightly better in terms of just the tapestry of releases. But that's about as much as I can say. What are you saying about 2010?
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is a classic. I don't even think there's an argument that can be made against it being a classic.
It's a classic.
Thank Me Later. I understand why people regard it as a classic because of the themes that were touched on by Drake, how he was able to weave in singing and being vulnerable, but still maintain a lot of hip hop essentials and a lot of rap basics. I don't consider it to be a classic, but it's a very good album. Teflon Don by Rick Ross is a very good album, but it's not a classic either. Again, another one of those mixtapes.
Wait. So you see My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy as a classic album?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
And then another one of those mixtapes turned mainstream efforts, Flockavelli by Waka Flocka. I don't think it's a classic, but for what it means and for the audience that he was speaking to in the underground that helped it become mainstream, it will be regarded as a classic to them. Pink Friday by Nicki Minaj.
I couldn't finish it. Like, I tried to. It's nah.
That is her best album, in my opinion. That is her best album, and there are people out there. You know how Lil Wayne said he's not a human? We're going to use the term people very loosely when I say this. There are people out there who are willing to die that this is a classic.
Excuse me, what?
I don't know whether they're human, but there are people out there.
Pink Friday.
That is her best album.
I don't give a damn if that's her best album. I couldn't finish it. I was like, what the hell am I listening to? Nah. I mean, nah.
HH, you didn't like the boom, 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 boom. The super bass.
I get that nonsense out of here, man. So yeah, so 2010 is cool, but I don't think it makes any of our shortlist, man. 2011. Watch the Throne, Kanye West, Take Care, Drake, Cold War, The Sidelines, J. Cole, Tech Nine, Wiz Khalifa, Rolling Papers, Hell, the sequel, the Red Album, Goblin, Tyler, the Creator, interesting. Section 80, Kendrick Lamar. You see, you now see this is now the introduction of the new era. Very good album, man. War, very much. But I think you're now seeing a shift. I think you saw the break years, which was obviously from like '04, '05 to like 2009. But I think from 2011 right now, you're now really beginning to see the shift because you're now seeing the. See, this is the first time we're seeing J. Cole, the first time that we're seeing Kendrick, and another classic from Drake in Take Care, Watch the Throne. If you want to call it a classic, cool. I don't rate it that highly, but I wouldn't argue if you call it a classic. So 2011, I think, is decent. Decent year.
2011, Watch the Throne. I don't think Watch the Throne is a classic. I think it's a really good album, but because of the two names that you have associated with it, people just throw it into the classic bin. And like Splashnet pointed out in live chat, the word classic has been diluted, but
Oh, for sure.
beyond repair.
No, see, this is what a classic is. A classic is, can you listen to that album in any time and does it still hold the same quality? Because classic is the same as timeless, where you can listen to it at any time and its quality doesn't diminish by when you listen to it. Not every album can be a classic because many albums were of that time. So they're great at that time, but 10 years after, it's looking a bit funny in the light. So that's the thing.
And this is a Drake album that I think is a classic.
It's a classic.
Take Care is a classic, 100%.
It's a classic, 100%.
The Carter 4, no, I love the Carter 3, not the Carter 4. I'm sorry.
See, here's the thing, though, because people can say, why don't we put Drake under the Lauryn Hill banner? Because he raps and sings. But I think that there is probably a bit more rapping. You see, can you make that argument? Should Drake be in a hip hop discussion?
That's a very, very strong argument that a lot of people kind of regard it as a chink in his armor, and I think he realizes that because if you listen to the interview that he did with Rap Radar, with B Dot, and he spoke on how he feels that hip hop listeners sort of detract from him because of his singing, rapping style. And that's true because it's kind of not derived from rap directly. It's also influenced by R&B, even pop.
And also Lauryn Hill was one of his major influences.
Exactly. And even Alicia Keys, he loves a lot of R&B and pop music. So you can also make that argument that it's a fusion. But it's tricky, but I definitely regard Take Care as a hip hop classic.
Because he even said it in that same interview that he says that Elliot Wilson asked that, bro, why didn't you just make a hip hop album? Just make a pure rap album. And he says, no, I have to cater for my rap audience, and I'm also going to cater for my R&B audience. So I've got to cater for the men and for the women as well. That I couldn't just do a whole album that disregards one part of my audience, which is why you can make an argument that should Drake really be in a rap discussion when he's actually never made a rap album from top to bottom, man. So okay, let's keep it going, man.
No. That's an interesting topic though, because how would you regard him? Like, where would you place him? So if this was like a sort of a Venn diagram, would he be somewhere where the two circles intersect, and would he just have his unique space?
Yes.
Because what he's accomplished is really remarkable. And I think that can only be accomplished by taking an audience from different genres.
No. You see, Drake, for me, you have to admire what Drake is. Because see, for me, hence why I listen to so many genres of music. I listen to rap, I listen to rock, I listen to grunge, I listen to... As long as the music is good, I will listen to it. I listen to all sorts of music. So when I just listen to Drake stuff, it is musically on point. He hits the notes musically, and it's just very well accomplished musical piece of work. But if we now want to talk about genres and respects of a genre, I can't call Drake a quintessential rapper act. So if you're having a rap discussion, it's why the whole thing of like you can't put Drake in a discussion of top rappers. You just can't. Because there's first of all the whole ghostwriting issue, and also a guy that isn't quintessentially a rapper that raps and sings and he's never made a rap album. Like a rap album is where 70-80% of his stuff is rap. In every album he's made, it's been 50% of rap, 50% R&B and singing. So if you've never actually made a quintessential rap album, how can we now put you in a rap discussion with other guys who make rap albums 100%? So it's a tricky one, man. All right, let's move in, man. 2012. Okay, so guys, man, like the vid, and if you're new, subscribe. Like the vid if you're new, subscribe. Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar. Life is Good, Nas. God Forgives, I Don't, Rick Ross. Schoolboy Q. Live from the Underground, Pink Prince. Nicki Minaj. Macklemore, Jesus. Footmaker 2, Lupe Fiasco. Absol. Dreams Are Nightmares, Meek Mill. Pluto, Future. What are we saying here? I'm going to say... Oh. Now, let me tell you a bit of a tidbit. This was supposed to be Jay Electronica's debut.
Yes, it
This was supposed to be the debut. This was supposed to be the year that Jay Electronica brought out his debut album. And if any of you has listened to his debut album, which has leaked, that is an incredible album. And it's literally one of the best albums I've ever listened to. It's an amazing album. So if that album came out this year, it would have made this year very interesting in terms of Jay Electronica bringing his work and Good Kid, Mad City. And who knows how much Jay Electronica could have influenced. Because for me, already, and I think this is where you're now going to see a sea change because of Good Kid, Mad City. So for me, as a year, it's good, but Kendrick's album is so far ahead of everything else. I think we can't call it a great year because Kendrick's album is just way too strong. I think it's just way too much of on a higher level than everything. It's like, is there any other album even on the same level as Good Kid, Mad City this year? I don't think there is.
There's none. There's none.
None. Like it's see that is a bona fide 100% classic.
Unless you're like, unless you like the boom boom pow with the Pink Friday. But no.
Oh.
No.
So
There's such a great
this year.
There's such a great disparity. The only other albums that I really, really love from this year are Meek Mill's album. This was his debut mainstream record label first album. And then that's really about it. Cruel Summer was so hyped up and so just it fell short because you would have expected that with the amount of heads coming together to make it work. John Legend, the whole Good Music camp, early Travis Scott. He produced a lot of the songs on that album for Kanye. You expected so much because of what the conversation was about, but it just did not deliver at all. This year is just...
Wait, sorry, saying why? Which album didn't deliver?
Cruel Summer.
Oh, okay.
That was the Good Music collective effort. It just... No. Yeah? No.
Listen, now this, come on, I want to bring this up because I disagree with this. 2012 only has Kendrick and Good Kid, Mad City has aged poorly. No, it's not.
Someone in the chat said 1999 by Joey Badass, which came out this year. But if you guys remember correctly, 1999 by Joey Badass is a mixtape. And today, he always says it is not an album.
It's a mixtape.
Finally Rich by Chief Keef. See, the thing about that is it's not a classic, but okay, I've just seen a classic. I've just seen a classic album in this
Mm.
year that's not Good Kid, Mad City. But Finally Rich by Chief Keef, if this was me not being objective, if this was just me going off taste and where I was in my life in 2012 and how that a lot of the music on Chief Keef's Finally Rich makes me feel, I would say personally for me that Chief Keef's Finally Rich is a classic. But objectively, it is not. It is nowhere close. But the album that I saw that sticks out to me that is a classic, and if you haven't listened to it, I would implore you go listen to it. It's Channel Orange by Frank Ocean.
I began listening to it, but I think I didn't finish the whole thing. But I think I began to listen to it. Yeah. Yeah, I know, very good singer, man. But wait, is Frank Ocean rap? Can you put Frank Ocean in a hip hop conversation?
No, no, he's another hybrid.
Yeah.
But because of the messenger, the artist, he gets lumped into hip hop because of who he is affiliated with. You know, he was with Tyler the Creator, so you know.
Yeah, man, this is really cool. All right, let's keep it moving, man. 2013, Jesus, Kanye West, no thanks. Um, Long Live ASAP, ASAP Rocky, Marshall Mathers LP2, no thanks. Born Sinner J Cole, Acid Rap, Chance the Rapper, Nothing Was the Same Drake. Okay, My Name Is My Name, Pusha T. Stay Trippy, Juicy J, watching movies with the sound of Mac Miller, because the instant Donald Glover, Wolf, Tyler the Creator, Run the Jewels, okay. No Love Lost, Joe. Oh man. Not my favorite year. Not my favorite year. But what are you saying? 2013. Not my favorite year.
I want this year on my short list.
What?
I want this year on my short list.
Are you sick? Okay,
No, no,
fine.
no. Actually, you see, this is just a bias because this is one of my favorite years for hip hop to me. If you could just scroll right back to the very top, all the way back to the top of the album list. You see, everyone hates that Yeezus album, but as a producer, I think producers appreciate it. That's the thing. Producers appreciate it because of how experimental it was and how much risk was taken in that album.
But from a listening experience though, it's nonsense.
Yeah, it causes headaches. If you want a headache, listen to that album.
It's
But as a
nonsense, man.
producer, if you want to be inspired to try out new sounds, listen to it. So personally, it kind of means different to me than other people. Long Live ASAP just takes me back to high school and nostalgia. So there's a connection there for me, strong connection. Um, get that album in the words of Abdullahi, get that Eminem album out of get out.
Yeah, nonsense, complete nonsense, man.
The El Swift album.
Actually, also, this is it because I think I saw the same thing with it's the same thing with Stillmatic, same thing with Only Built for Keeping Legs Part 2. I hate when artists do this, where things may not be going well for you in your career, and you just latch on to what was your classic album, and you use that name and try to remix it to
And you
try
put
and
part two.
yeah, we put parts and like, guy, I know what you're trying to do, and like, come on. So and this is the issue. See, for someone like Eminem, because that album aged so badly, the worst thing you could do is give me a part two of that Marshall Mathers LP. Although, if you had given us a part two that showed you a more mature version of that, it could work. But it was just still the same nonsense. So okay, nothing was the same. Is that classic or no? Or just three good tracks?
It's a really good album that falls short of being a classic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's an album that has two, three really good songs, but as a body of compared to Thank Me Later and Take Care, I don't think it holds up. I don't think it holds up. I think it's but I don't think it really holds up to those other ones, man. All right, okay. So is 2013 going on your short list?
Yes, it is. It
Oh
is.
my god! All right, okay. 2014, Run the Jewels 2, Oxymoron, School by Q. Aha, 2014 Forest Hill Drive. We'll talk about that. My Crazy Life, YG, Honest Truth, Galactica, Big. Oh my god, the Pink Prince. Jesus Christ.
Boom, 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 boom.
Under Pressure, Logic, Faces, Mac Miller, Azealia Banks, Madlib. Oh my god, Iggy Azalea. Ugh. What the fuck are they doing on there? Hell Can Wait, Vince Staples, Life After Death Row, Crooked Eye, Dilated Peoples. Yeah, I'm cool on this. Yeah, I'm cool. A Better Tomorrow, Wu-Tang. Yeah, nah, I'm cool. What are you saying? 2014. Really, the only album that sticks out to me is J. Cole 2014 Forest Hill Drive, which isn't a classic album, but it's a very good album by a very good rapper who has yet to make a classic.
Yeah, I think 2014 Forest Hills Drive is J. Cole's closest thing to a classic, but it's not a classic.
Mm,
My Crazy Life by YG is a good album. I feel as though people just disregard it because it's YG, and when they listen to his popular songs, they're like, eh. But if you really listen to that album, it's good. Run the Jewels 2 by Run the Jewels is a solid album. Oxymoron by Schoolboy Q is a solid album. You see, that's the thing. 2014 is another similar to what I said about I think I said this about 93. It's
mm,
just a year that screams out solid, but nothing more. It's a solid year.
mm.
And people also have to bear in mind that post 2010, the way we regard these albums is very, very skewed and has a lot of bias because technology also plays a big part. See, in the 90s and in the late 80s, an album was considered timeless and classic because it was just the music. There was no theatrics. No one was on Instagram playing the snippet over and over and
Mm.
over again. Radio rarely played hip hop songs, so it was all word of mouth. It was more personal taste. It was more, how do I connect with this? What is the connection? How does this music make me feel? Post 2010, people might not really like a song, but if it's heard on Instagram or on YouTube videos or anywhere more than a dozen times, they start to like it. So there's a lot of bias, there's a lot of programming, there's a lot of playlisting with Apple Music and Spotify. Once you open it, before you even search for a song, you're suggested other songs. So there are like a lot of albums where I think if they were released in a different time, they will not be considered classics. You know?
So is this making your short list?
No, 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 no.
But for me, this is. Don't
And
compare this to 93, bro.
let
93
me let me also
washes the
say
seal.
this really quickly. Something about J. Cole. And I'm gonna whisper this because I don't want any of his fans to hear this. Have
Stop.
you
Stop
have you
producing.
have you noticed that J. Cole only releases when people that he's compared to never release? And it makes his albums appear to be better than they actually are. He never releases when Kendrick releases. He never releases when any other conscious rapper
Okay.
releases.
Oh, okay. Let me respond to that. Why on the Jeezy record, where J. Cole probably put out the verse of the year, did Kendrick get scared and then decided to then sing on that same track? The thing with J. Cole is this, bro, stop producing. Ring up DJ Premier, ring up Pete Rock, ring up Rock Marciano, and get them to produce you an album where you just focus on the rapping. Because if you do that, you will make a classic album. The issue is that you're not an accomplished producer that can produce and rap. You are, for me, one of the best rappers in the world right now. Facts. As a producer, I wouldn't push you really in that top echelon as a producer. Like, very few guys can rap well and produce well, i.e. J Electronica, who is a very good producer and an excellent rapper. But that is a very hard thing to do. Because see, Kanye West is an average rapper. Amazing producer, average rapper. So his strength is proper production. J. Cole, bro, just get a producer. Get a producer and you will make a classic album, because we know how good you are at rapping. Because the issue is that J. Cole, on his features that he did, sounded so much better because those features are produced by other people, not him. So simple. 2015, let's rock. Boom. To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar. If you're reading this, it's too late, Drake. Compton, Dr. Dre. Summertime 06, Vince Staples. Meek Mill, Big Sean, The Game, Lupe Fiasco. Apparently, the album is supposed to be very good. Tetua and the Youth. Lupe Fiasco. King Push, Pusha T, Travis Scott, Rodeo. Not a bad album. I think, I listened to Joey Badass before The Money. Action Bronson. Deeply Rooted Scarface. Not a bad album. Not a bad album. Decent year. But let me ask you this, Mr. Marv. Is there any album that is on the same level as Pimp a Butterfly in this year? Because Pimp a Butterfly for me is...
There's no album that is on the same level, but I have a hot take in regards to Pimp a Butterfly. I don't think To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic.
You're not.
I said I don't think To Pimp a Butterfly is a classic.
You're not.
I think Kendrick just got lucky with the timing. I think that album released in any other year is just like, okay, great album, no classic. But because of what was going on in 2015 with Ferguson, what was going on in Ferguson, what was going on in the United States, similar to 2020 with the whole social justice reform, Black Lives Matter. First was, 2015 was when they came to the forefront of culture. And I think Kendrick just lucked out. He capitalized on the moment, and being a good rapper, he was able to just put what he felt and what he was seeing on wax. And no other rapper in that year was able to do it. I feel as though if J. Cole did what he did, it would be classic. If Drake did it, it would be classic. So I think it's slightly overrated. I'm sorry.
Nah, for me, I always look at things from a music point of view, and just in terms of how he made it, where it was almost like a film with the interludes, the production.
Hey, Chase, look in the chat.
What were the guys saying now? People are saying it's overrated. Oh my god, you guys are nuts.
Wait. Go ahead.
My thing is, okay, how can I explain? Okay, basically it's like this. I feel there is a lot of pushback on Kendrick, and let me explain it to you. And this is what it is. And I've always said this. J. Cole is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. He's a better rapper in terms of just flow, just the skill and just flow of rapping effortlessly. J. Cole is a better rapper. But Kendrick is a very good artist. So when I listen to Pimp a Butterfly, I listen to it from an artistic point of view. And here's the issue with the guys, why guys have a pushback. It's not an album you can easily put in and listen to. See, Illmatic, Doggy Style, Reasonable Doubt, Enter the 36 Chambers, you can just put it in and listen to it. because of how it's made, the interludes, how it stops, how it goes through. It's not an album you can easily listen to. So once you begin, you're like, oh, you see, you have to really want to listen to it. You can't just put it in. So I think that is the thing. But that shouldn't take away from musically how good it is as an album. So all because you can't listen to it as easily as other ones, because in many just listening to another track doesn't mean that you can't still sit down and objectively view it as, man, the production, the rapping, the content, the composition, how it's put together, what he's saying, how he's saying it, how he's putting it across, the artistry, the poetry, all those things together. You have to say, from an artistic point of view, it's an amazing piece of work. It's an amazing piece of work. Now, is it my favorite album? Is it an album that I listen to every day? No. No. Like, there are other albums that I would listen to before. Like, for me, I would listen to Internal Affairs 10 times out of 10 over this album. But as a hip hop head, music head, I can still say that you listen to that thing, it is still a quality piece of work, and you can't deny that. You cannot deny how good the album is musically. You know, so what are you thinking about the year, Marv?
I not I don't put it on my short list, but I think, and another thing about this year, it had some hits. Kendrick had "We Gonna Be All Right." Drake, if you're reading this, it's too late. You can argue that that album is filled with hits. At long last, ASAP, he just does his whole thing of being lucid. LSD, that was his hit song. Shrem Life with Ray Shremmer, they had No Type, and they had two other hits. Dreams Worth More Than Money. Dreams Worth More Than Money is a great album. Great album. Meek Mill albums, I feel like Meek Mill albums get underappreciated because of how Drake sort of turned him over and spanked him on his behind. So people don't want to ever like vouch for Meek, but Dreams Worth More Than Money is a good album. But no, this year doesn't make my short list. Does it make your short list?
No, 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 no. No, it
But
doesn't. I mean,
even Fetty Wap's debut album came in this year too. And the legendary song by Bobby Shmurda that I can't say the name, if not you'll get demonetized. But that was also released in this year too. So this year had massive hits, but in terms of album
albums, no.
qualities, doo doo, toilet water.
2016, Life of Pablo, Coloring Book, okay, Chance the Rapper, Schoolboy Q, Untitled, Kendrick Lamar, which is a bit odd. Tribe Called Quest's album, After So Many Years. Future Evil. Yeah. All right. Nah. Cool, but really wasn't feeling it this year, man. You, Marv?
No. You see, this is where I would say after 2014, we enter an era where the album isn't as important as the lead single. The lead single becomes prioritized over the album. And that's why you see a lot of artists who release albums had hit songs in this year, but then their album just falls short. Vince Staples had a huge song towards the end of 2015, 2016 that I think prompted his label to rush out his album to capitalize and to commercialize, but the album was just Isaiah Rashad, same thing. He was huge in terms of having singles that were buzzing in 2015, 2016, and I think his album was rushed. DJ Khaled, what he does is just scream over hits, radio commercial songs. So I think a lot of 2016, similar to 2015, the artists had hits, but the albums were just blah. But might I add though, that Jeffrey album, that cover,
Why? Which
That's the
cover?
Harry Styles before Harry Styles. The album by Young Thug, Jeffrey.
Oh God.
Everything aside, I appreciate that cover because of how risky it is and the amount of risk and the amount of courage that it takes to pull that off.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a great album cover, in my opinion, for that.
Oh, this. Oh my God.
Which one? Put it up on the screen so the chat could see the cover.
A Young Thug.
Just
Wait.
click on images and it'll bring up the cover.
What the fuck?
You don't like that? Don't you think that's Harry Styles before the Harry Styles?
Wow. Interesting, man. Look, all I can say is just interesting. That's very brave. I think, look, man. I mean, so life of Pablo,
I
man.
think the
Yeah.
dysfunctionality surrounding the rollout of life of the life of Pablo, I think Kanye felt in the moment that it would be a genius way to kind of roll out the album as even down to the cover. You see, like it looks like this crazy, mad genius, like picture here, off-centered, word paint. Let's make it look amateurish but still professional. I feel like that worked to the disservice of this album because it took away from the music. The music was an afterthought. There was a lot of charade surrounding this album. His fashion show, Yeezy, Madison Square Garden, he was like going on rants at the time.
Mm.
So I think the music kind of suffers because of that. Coloring Book by Chance, this is another hot take. I have never really regarded Chance the rapper. I'm sorry.
I mean, no, look,
I'm
look.
sorry.
I don't think that's even such a big take. I think Chance the Rapper is one of those guys where but I don't really think he's that dude. Actually, let me bring it because another guy has come in and just joined in, man. So Melly Mel,
Peace, peace.
yo, how you doing, man? How you doing? How you doing? So
I'm
basically,
good, brothers.
so we're just actually so we've just pretty much gone through the years. So we're on 2016 right now, and we're probably just going to maybe go back to our short list of years, and maybe if you have a year you can go through. So right now we're just coming up to 2020, looking at the albums. Then after we do that, we're going to give like our short lists of years that we think are strong. That we're then going to come to a consensus. So before we go to 2017, does 2016, looking at these albums, do any albums speak out to you? That's all. 2016.
2016, I know Cole dropped For Your Eyes Only, I believe, right?
Was that in 26? I don't think that was in 2016 for Your Eyes Only.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
okay.
A lot of them. Untitled dropped 2016. Blank Face was a serious LP. Saba Bucket List Project, that's a serious LP. Yeah, these are 2016. No Name, Telephone. We got some serious albums. Hold on. Yeah, I think have you guys touched on any of those albums? Yeah.
Basically, I've just given my thoughts that because we've gone from 1987 till now. And currently for me, like 2016 is like, no, decent, but I wouldn't put this like on my short list with regards to talking about what I believe is the best year of rap. Like a decent year, but I don't think the year has enough classics for me to say, okay, this is now in the argument of a best year for rap.
Yeah, I agree with you. 2016 was not a heavy year for albums. We had a lot of returning classic acts. So we had like Tribe come back, drop an album. We had De La Soul come and drop an album. I think that was like the first album since their hiatus.
Yeah.
And that was the crowdfunded one, right? If I remember that correctly, which was the Anonymous Nobody. Let me see. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you guys. Though 2016 was still, even with those mentions, it wasn't really that strong of a year. There wasn't that many great albums, so you could definitely move on.
2017. So 2017, we've got Down, we've got 444, we've got Culture, Flower Boy, Tyler the Creator, More Life Drake, All American, Joey Badass, Pretty Girls Like Trap Music, 2 Chainz, Layla's Wisdom, Rhapsody. Already,
Yeah, that's
this
a
is
heavy
a
list.
very strong. This is a very strong year.
Yeah.
for me, like the albums that stand out for me is Forever is a Mighty Long Time stands out for me. Layla's Wisdom stands out for me. All American stands out for me.
Yeah.
444 stands out for me. Damn stands out for me. So this for me is already the best year of this decade, 2017.
And then you had Migos dropped Culture, and we can't even forget about Hove. Hove dropped 444.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an extremely powerful album. What else? You guys mentioned Flower Boy. Run the Jewels 3 came out. I personally never listened to Run the Jewels 3. Playboy Cardi dropped. Yeah, that's when Playboy Cardi blew up. That's when Magnolia hit. Off of that, it was off of that that mixtape.
Not really feeling this whole Logic thing, man. But that's just my.
I think with Logic, ultimately, I feel like he never reached where he could have, because if you listen to his mixtapes, there was so much potential there.
Yeah,
incredible mixtapes.
But see, the thing with Logic is he made a decision,
Yeah, he decided to pander to the whole.
Yeah, no.
Being mixed.
Because things like, how many times must you keep saying, "Oh man, I'm mixed, black, white," and then, "Hey man, I'm from everyone. Hey, this is that, and so forth." So it's like, it's so haphazard and everything, because it's almost very schizophrenic. Like at one time, I'm like, yeah, real rap. I'm like, Wu-Tang and everything. Oh, now, hey man, same-sex marriage and everything. So you're all over the place, and you want to be so many different things. So you have to choose what you want to be. Either you're like a pop star and so forth, which is cool. Therefore, we can't take you serious as a hip-hop guy, or you're a real hip-hop guy, but you've now got to stick by that. So him saying that I retired because of the kind of criticism that I had because people wanted me to be different things. I'm like, what? First of all, how do you retire from rap? That makes no sense. So that's because you've not basically been disciplined and just say, okay, this is what I am. I'm this. Okay, I'm a pop star. Boom, I'm this. I'm a rapper. I'm this. You just kept on mixing both worlds, so the audience are confused as to what are you. So.
I mean, when we're talking about Logic, though, he did drop a really good first album, though. I don't know if how you guys feel about Under Pressure, but I mean,
yeah, that would be my benchmark. After that, I would say was when he just.
But even Incredible, the Incredible True Story, that was a good album as well. But everything after that, it was just a decline right after that album. And then even with the No Pressure album that he dropped, it was okay, but
yes, perfect.
It was mediocre.
King Darien, those are my exact. That's my exact thought. His mixtapes were incredible.
Absolutely.
But his
Young Sinatra series, Undeniable, all those tapes were fire. But yeah, once he who did he sign to? It wasn't was it Universal or was it Sony? Well, he's Def Jam, right? He's like Def Jam's.
He's
he's Def Jam's biggest artist.
I think it is Def Jam.
Yeah,
but the thing is, post 2010, Def Jam is really dysfunctional.
Yeah, they were switching management like crazy.
Their management So, but okay. I actually want this year on my short list.
What?
I do.
On your short list? No, it's a good year, but all right. Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of impact in that year, Migos dropped their first album.
Because someone may say, "Oh, the Migos, they're not really the best representation of hip hop and rap." But when you take into consideration how impactful,
it's undeniable that impact for sure.
Even I would say Tyler the Creator coming of age and maturing.
Flower Boy. Yeah.
So I want this on my short list.
Okay. Dorian, we're going to circle back into our previous year so you can give you a time just to give your own thought. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is not looking like a good year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some standouts on this year.
Daytona, Pusha T is fine. KOD is fine. DiCaprio 2 is okay. I mean, for me, like, this is a joke. I mean, Cardi B, lovely person, great character, but I can't take that seriously. I'm sorry. Um, yeah. Nah.
Carter 5 dropped that year.
No.
Yeah, Carter 5,
Kamikaze.
Daytona, Meek Mill's Championships. That's when Kanye did his 7-album run that year.
Yeah. Those were
And those are all. I mean, they were all bad.
Yay.
Yeah. I mean, we got J Rock. J Rock did drop. You had Not All Heroes Wear Capes, which was the collab of Metro Boomin
and
Kid Cudi.
No, it was just Metro featuring other artists.
Wait,
because
look, this username, you're called Bound 2, and look at your AVI. Of course, you would say Kid See Ghost is an amazing album. Freaking biased, man. Come on, man.
No. What I'm noticing, because I've been paying attention to the chat all through, a lot of people are mistaking their personal classics and their personal favorites for being as objective classics. You can love something and it can mean so much to you, but objectively, meaning you have to take into consideration other people's opinions, even if you don't want to, it doesn't hold weight.
No. But basically, it's like when we did in 1999, Fairmont Internal Affairs for me is one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm not going to call it a classic, but I love that album. It is, I think it's an amazing album, but that's just me, my personal bias.
Yeah.
I don't like my Dark Twisted Fantasy. I don't like that album. But if you call it a classic, I have to accept that it's a classic based on its impact. But I just personally don't like it.
That's why I was referencing when we said like Migos culture, like we were talking about last year, 2017. Those albums, you can feel however you feel about them, but culturally they impacted.
Yeah.
They had that impact. And I'm not the biggest fan of Migos or that album in general, but like the impact of that album, the impact of 444, not to backtrack too much, but
so I'm sorry. Pull up James' comment, and I spoke about this. That perfectly sums up what we've just said. And I think this is the problem no, not that one. The one he just made. And I think that perfectly sums up what the whole thing is. It's the nostalgia, it's the personal connection, and the bias.
It's the bias at the end of the day.
That's why they can't be objective.
That's
because ultimately, music is such a subjective thing. Asking people to kind of be objective gets really tricky.
Because see, this is even more so than sports, because sports is X's and O's. I scored more points. I scored more goals. I did more of this. Music is very subjective, where it is almost impossible for you to explain why this album is so personal to you. Like, people could say, man, MF Doom. And I've listened to it a bit like that, but I'm not going to feel towards MF Doom the way that some people felt. And for me, people call me crazy when I call Cannabis like this amazing, super rap and everything. But guys are like, what? But I think Cannabis is freaking amazing. Peak Cannabis, I think, is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So when we're doing this kind of discussion, we have to focus on impact.
Yeah.
When we were in 1989, I said to Marvelous that I don't personally like Public Enemy, personally, but those albums were very impactful, hugely impactful. So that is something that cannot be objectively denied, is the impact an album makes, So that's my thing, man. So
I'm not gonna lie, 2018 is looking like a really good year for hip hop. You have, I'm gonna name out the ones that stand out to me that year. You have, it's a weird one to start off with, but you got KOD, you got Swimmings by Mac Miller, and he committed suicide that same year.
Wow.
Well, I'm not gonna say he committed suicide, but he overdosed that year. You have Earl Sweatshirt, some rap songs. You got Saba's Care for Me, crazy album. You have Book of Ryan, crazy album. Royce the 5'9". You got Lupe's Drogas Waves, insane album. You got Scorpion. You got the Black Panther album, which I don't really feel like this album belongs on this list, but since it was a soundtrack really more than like a rap album. You got Victory Lap, crazy. Nipsey Hussle. Their Victory Lap was a great album.
So I forgot about that. Book of Ryan. That is a quality album.
Great album.
That is a quality. You see, because for me, I told you, like, Royce. This is not about Royce. He was always as good as Eminem, but Eminem had Dr. Dre, and he then signed with this other thing, and then he just had this label thing. I would say, like, Royce, like, he's so good, but he gets lost in the sauce, and then he basically came to prominence on GTA 3, the soundtrack. Because like, oh jeez, man, who's this guy? Blah blah. But once he just sort of got clean, got sober, and really began to talk about stuff. You see, as a writer, I say Royce the 5'9" is right now probably the best rapper right now in terms of just inform. If let's say a rapper was like sports, I'll say Royce the 5'9" is like the most informed rapper right now. Like his rapping right now is top tier. Top tier. So yeah, that was a very strong album, man, for sure. Okay, let's go to 2019, man. We're almost there. So 2019, Eve. Okay, I'm gonna give you that for Eve. The Baby, Hollywood, Post Malone. The fuck? Megan Thee Stallion. Jesus is King, Kanye West. What the hell?
That was a weird year.
Peace, Nick. Peace.
Yo, Nick, what aloha, man.
What's the deal, bro?
What's up? So okay, I'm already saying that 2019 isn't a year for me, really. So this, I'm cool on 2019. You know,
hold on. 2019 is not a good year for you?
Nah.
Hold on. Let me run through this.
2019 looks very weird.
Oh, man. You know what? Yeah, y'all could keep 2019. Yeah, you got too much pop. You got too much, like, these poppy rap albums. Yeah, nah, there's not enough.
Wait, I think some good underground albums dropped that year though. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you had Jeezy dropped, TM 104. You had
Bandana dropped that year?
You had Bandana dropped that year, which was crazy. You had Revenge of the Dreamers 3, which was crazy.
That was a good album.
Did Conway or Westside Gun drop that year?
I don't see them on this list. Schoolboy dropped Crash Talk that year, and I don't know how people receive Crash Talk, but I think that was a pretty good album.
Or Corday, but
you got Fab, Summer Shootout 3. You know how Fab do with the tapes, but that was a weak tape, to be honest.
Very weak.
You had damn, I can't. You have Earth Gang, Mirrorland. That's a great album.
Oh yeah, Little Brother came back that year as well.
Yeah, Little Brother came back. That was a great album, man. You had Gunna, Drip or Drop 2. Say what you want about that album, but that it slapped.
Roddy Ricch's album went pretty
Yeah, Roddy Ricch, yeah.
Yeah, for me, but is 2019 going on your short list as a great year for rap? An all-time year?
I believe, okay, if Conway dropped this album 2019, it was a solid year. I wouldn't say it was a great year, but I think Conway dropped an album that year.
Now he dropped Look What I Became and Everybody Is Food 3.
Okay, Look What I Became was a pretty good tape.
All right, so Marvelous 2019. Do we keep this? Move on?
I think. Are we working our way towards 2021 or 2020?
basically 2020 is where we'll end up with the. We're then going to now circle back to our short list, so you guys can bring in your takes as well.
Denzel Curry's album Zoo is very underappreciated in 2019, but there isn't really any album that kind of really does it for me.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a good take.
Yeah, there ain't no standouts on that this year.
Yeah,
2019.
there's no standout. Yeah, The Lost Boy by YB and Cordae is good, but it doesn't,
Yeah, it's a
All
good
right.
album, but it doesn't hold you down. Like it's not. There's nothing that I want to revisit on that album, but it's not
Yeah.
a bad album.
Yeah.
So our final year before we circle back, and of course, a written testimony, and I think this is what ties myself, Mel, and Nick to here because we're all from the J Electronica Discord. And this thing, see, let me just say about written testimony, because many people say it's Jay-Z's album, or
Oh, man.
it's a hybrid album. You see, for me,
Forget Nixon here.
when I listen to this, is that it's now here's a hot take, and I've held this. I prefer this to Watch the Throne, and here's why. Here's why.
Okay.
And this is, again, this is just my view. Watch the Throne, amazing production. I've never rated Kanye West as a rapper. I just never have.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Jay-Z's rapping is so far superior to Kanye West's rapping on Watch the Throne. But on this, their styles are so different, but still very good. It's a much better blend to listen to when they go back and forth, as opposed to Kanye and Jay-Z on Watch the Throne. And I think on this, it's just very easy to listen to.
I'm gonna have to disagree in terms of the synergy between the two, because there are times on a written testimony where I don't want to hear Jay and I want to hear
Come
Jay.
on, Nick.
No, I'm just disagreeing with the synergy.
All right. Go ahead.
On Otis, Kanye and Jay sound amazing together. On No Church in the Wild, Kanye and Jay sound amazing together. But there are songs on a written testimony where vocally their tones don't mesh. And depending on who's rapping, somebody kind of messes up the vibe for me. But the album itself, I love the album. It's a very I feel like there's a level of elegance on a written testimony. You know what I mean? There's like it's like a nice piece of art, however you feel about it. Like some people feel like you said before, it's a Jay-Z album. The more I listen to it, it sounds like a favor to Jay-Z. You know what I mean? But it's a solid album. Now, in comparison to albums that came out in 2020, that's where shit gets shaky.
Okay. Let's be real. You see, let me give my view that everything can go through. So, I listened to Alfredo. I'll keep it real to you. Superb production. Alchemist is an amazing producer. Not a fan of Freddie Gibbs' rapping.
Really?
This is just my take. Again, this is music. I can only be honest on how I feel. Because again, for me, with music, I can only be honest. Amazing
for
production, because Alchemist is always amazing. Freddie Gibbs, I felt the rapping didn't really do the production justice. That's just my take. Busta Rhymes, the album.
A lot of similar flows from Freddie on that album.
Yeah, I don't listen to Freddie Gibbs and expect innovation from his music though. He's a very samey, like he knows his lane, he knows his niche. It's just that drug rap. That's all it is. He's got coke bars for days, and that's all he's gonna be rapping about. I expect that same double time flow that he comes on a lot. A lot of his stuff will bounce, but he knows how to fall into those those real mellow pockets. But I think him teaming with Alchemist was a great way to expand as an artist, but I don't think he was ready for that Alchemist collab.
No.
I think it was too soon.
Because you see, what Alchemist does calls for you to really expand upon yourself, because the guy experiments with many different sounds. And his production is very musical, and he really takes things to the next level. You see, for me, if you listen to Stove God Cooks' album and the production there, I think Freddie Gibbs would work well with it because that is very much a vibe and it sticks to that vibe. For Alchemist, it's going to take you to different places similar to what like a Dr. Dre would do or a Pharrell and Neptunes would do. They're going to take you to many different places rather than just keep you in one pocket. So for me, I'll agree Royce the 5'9", quality album. Quality album.
Great album.
2020 for me.
Here's the thing. Can I say something real quick? 2020, we're in 2021. We're only in the second month of 2021, right? So the impact of these albums are delayed. They still haven't hit yet. We don't know, right? We still haven't seen the Grammys happen, even though however you feel about the Grammys, but they still do play a vital position as far as how certain albums get progressed in the spotlight. I mean, we have this year with those 5 albums, and they're all quality albums. You got A Written Testimony, you got Alfredo, you got
Nas,
The Allegory, you got Nas, which I think is another album that's
very good album. That's
very good album. But I think the impact for that album is going to be delayed until the Grammys. A lot of these impactful albums are going to be delayed until the Grammys. What else came out?
Yeah, it was a big year for releasing.
Yeah.
In 2020. So yeah, the delay is definitely going to be there. But I mean, you've had the opportunity to sit with certain albums more than others.
For sure.
So what touched you more than anything?
You had Uzi that dropped he took a while to drop this Eternal Atake album, and say what you want about the album, but when it hit. People were bumping this album, and I remember, I think it was me and you, Nick, we were talking about this the other night. After he dropped that album, not even like a week or two later, in response to the love that album got, I think he sold like 300,000.
280 something.
280 close. Yeah, and that's big. That's big. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of artists. Not even a lot of big name artists can do over 1,000. Physical and streams. So and he dropped another deluxe which is like a whole nother album right after, like a week or two after, and that hit too.
I have a question in regards to a written testimony, because I feel that Jay Electronica dropped the ball on his career. I feel like when you look at his career, it's always what could have been. And I have a conspiracy theory, and this is only a conspiracy, so take it with a grain of salt. Do you think he was milked by other bigger acts around him, specifically Jay-Z?
No. Here's the thing. Listening to the album.
You guys, no. Do you guys get where I'm trying to go by saying
that? Hold on, Nick. I know what you want to say.
Do you guys get where I'm trying to go when I say that? Do you think a lot of his albums that may have been released were given to an artist such as Jay? I'm just saying, I don't know. And Jay-Z kind of stripped and took from it to where he couldn't put it out as his own.
What do you mean by that exactly, though? Do you mean that like he ghostwrote for a lot of projects that came out prior? Did you think that he produced for them? Do you think that like they just stole from his like?
I think he ghost wrote for certain acts. I don't know which specifically, and a lot of his creativity and his opinions was focused on catering towards them, to where he didn't have time to flush out his own effort. And even when he did put out a written testimony, Jay-Z is on every song. And a lot of people attribute it as being a Jay-Z album.
Because here's the thing. I can explain it to you fully because it all connects. I don't feel a written testimony is exactly what Jay Electronica wanted to bring out. I felt it was a case of, bro, you've got to put something out. And he said, you know what? I've got something in big. Hence why there are songs, because even when you listen to written testimony, you hear the whole things with the kids like screaming, but when you listen to Patents of Nobility, which is what's supposed to come out in 2012, it all connects and it seamlessly goes through. What I believe is because you look at his reaction when it got leaked and how emotional he was by how people loved the album, I don't think that he was I think that the label and people were like, this is a very out of left field kind of album. See, because when we did 2012, the only album that stood out was Good Kid, Mad City. If Patents of Nobility came out in 2012, that is shifting things, because what you're talking about, the kinds of things that you're saying, and just what it sounds like musically is so crazy that it would have been very interesting to see how they would have matched up against Good Kid, Mad City. But when you look at what was coming out in 2012, maybe they were like, we're not too sure whether this is the kind of content that's really going to hit in 2012 with the stuff that's being brought out. So that is my theory.
Nick, you got something to add to that, bro?
Yeah, I'll say when you say milked, I feel as though Jay Electronica definitely influenced a lot of artists. He's probably written for a ton of artists. But I think everything we see from Jay Electronica is self-inflicted. I believe he's garnered enough attention where he was in control and he wanted to do things his way. Now, if he dropped the ball per se in terms of, yo, you're hot right now, let's release, he didn't do that. But I mean, when you think about the records that we even heard that even sparked everything, we weren't even supposed to hear Exhibit C. We weren't even supposed to hear Exhibit A. Just Blaze played Exhibit C like at a radio station, when he was spinning a bunch of tracks. So
Jay didn't even like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, homie got the 50 Cent buzz, it's time for him to drop. I think he was still maneuvering through the game and just trying to figure things out. So if you listen to Act 2 is kind of what's happening right now in hip hop. Like the whole Griselda move. I don't think we even get a written testimony if Griselda didn't flood the streets the way they flooded the streets. If a Freddie Gibbs wasn't out. If fucking dudes like who else is of that ilk right now? Where they're not rapping over trap beats, they're rapping over very unorthodox production. Jay Elect was doing that years ago.
Yeah.
So I think everything that happened with Jay Elect is self-inflicted. But when you say milk them, yeah, he says it on the album. Me, the socket, the plug, the universal adapter. Like Jay, I mean, Hove is infamous for getting close to people and sucking energy. You know what I mean? So
he's got a whole track list of artists that he's done there. Whether it's Beanie, Ye, who else is the other one I'm thinking of? That was Rockefeller. You know what I'm talking about.
There's a ton of them. He didn't even want to work with Kanye.
Freeway. There's still another one I'm thinking about. Yeah, man.
A ton of them. But we've never seen anything like Jay's involvement in
Memphis Bleak
in a written testimony.
Memphis Bleak, yeah.
Even with Bleak, he's not all over a Bleak album like the way he's on Jay Elect's album.
Yeah, but I think
Hey, Bleak got one of his best songs.
Wrote for Jay.
Dear Summer, man.
I think Memphis Bleak wrote for Jay.
Memphis Bleak?
I don't think Memphis Bleak could create a bar.
Excuse me?
I don't think
Memphis Bleak.
could create a bar.
The heck?
I'm sorry.
Wait. Are you sniffing? Memphis Bleak wrote for who?
That's the thing. I feel that when these, and I also say the same thing with Jay Electronica. I respect you guys' opinions because you guys are obviously more informed on Jay Electronica than I am. But I think there has to be some sort of clause, NDA, where these artists kind of give their albums to Jay.
Wait, Mama, because I think we're getting derailed a little bit now. So look, it's time for us to circle back since obviously Mel and Nick have come through. So we've put up our shortlists of years we think are tops, and obviously we want to give you your thoughts and everything on your own views. So my shortlist, I think, is before Marv's, which was 1993. So 1993. Shit, what's happening here?
What do you mean, like a year of hip hop albums or 1993?
Oh no, hip hop albums, rap albums. So, 93, we had Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, Midnight Marauders, Tribe Called Quest, Return of the Boom Rap, KRS-One, Tupac's album, Cypress Hill's album, Onyx, Back the F Up. Also, I believe this is also Doggy Style. Brand Nubian, In God We Trust. So this for me, was one of my candidates of best ever year for rap. So what do you guys think about 93?
You had Black Moon, you had Souls of Mischief, 93 Till Infinity, you had, oh man, this is a good year. You had Digital Planets. Oof, that's a serious year.
It's a very strong year. Very strong year.
Yeah, you had Das Effects. Yeah, that's crazy. You had Slaughterhouse, Master Ace. Oof.
Yeah, that's a massive year. I mean,
And you had Lords of the Underground.
So Mav.
Fine.
Wait, so Marvelous, did you say 90? So what was on
No,
your
my
short
first year on my short list is 94.
94. Okay, so you said 94. This is what was on. See, 94 didn't make my short list. So here's why 94 did not make my short list was because the only bona fide classic you can give me is Illmatic. Ready to Die doesn't age well. Ready to Die doesn't age well. That isn't Outkast's best album.
Southern
album,
Playlist. I was about to say, you don't
it's
think
not
that,
their best album.
it's not their best album, but that's a great.
Is it a classic? Is it a classic? It's not a classic. See, the fact that you paused means that it's not a classic. You shouldn't have to pause. The fact that you paused means that it's not a classic.
You got J-Rue, you know what I'm saying? The Sunrises in the East, that's a classic album.
But is this a stronger year than 93? Let's look at this year, 94. Is this a stronger year than 93?
You have, you got Resurrection, you got Common Drop that year. You had who else?
Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
Yeah, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. You had Craig Mack. You had who else stands out here? You had.
Dang, I'm gonna have to check out. I'll be back.
All right, bro. Actually, yeah, this isn't looking that strong of a year.
Because I say 93 beats this. I just think that 93 had a better package overall than 94. 94 was still good, but I think Illmatic was just head and shoulders above everything else. Like, it just sort of blew everything out of the water.
Yeah.
So now this was I think me and Marv both had this year. And I think now this was the year that I said initially is the greatest year without even doing this whole piece was 95. 95 is crazy. So
95, I'm looking at that right now. It is nuts.
It's insane.
It is nuts.
It's insane.
You had LO, you had Farside, you had Smith and Wesson, The Roots,
Jizza, ODB, Mobb Deep, Raekwon.
Oh wait, is that Liquid Swords year? Oh, that's
Yep.
Liquid Swords year. Yeah, that's
Soul Food, Goody Mob.
You had Mobb Deep, the infamous. Come on, you had Coochie Rap 456, like Return of the 36 Chambers, ODB, Me Against the World. This is a heavy list right now. Yeah, these are. You had KRS-One. Come on, man. Onyx. Grand Poobah 2000 was a serious album. Yeah, that was
AZ.
Oh man,
Do or Die. It's for me. The way I'm looking at this, I think 95 might be the year. I think 95 might be the year. So I also had, I think me and Marvelous also had 96. So Marvelous, did you have
I didn't pick 96. I went for 98 instead. But you picked 6.
Okay, so I had 96 as one of my shortlists as well. So All Eyes on Me, the scores. Now, this is one of Outkast's best albums, 80 Aliens. It was written now as his second best album. Reasonable Doubt. Beats Runs a Life. Tribe Called Quest's best album in my view. Tribe Called Beats, Rhymes, and Life.
Hell on Earth, Mobb Deep. You had Muddy Waters, Redman. You had Beats, Rhymes, and Life, Tribe. You had the Ghetto Boy, the Resurrection Ghetto Boys, serious album. Razzcast dropped. So Nice, that was a really good album. MOP dropped that year. Oof.
But not as good as for me, in my view, not as
I
good
still
as
think
93 and
95.
95.
95 is looking really good to me.
Yeah. Okay, so Marvelous, you said what, 98 or was it 97?
98.
98. So this is 98. Aquemini, another of Outkast's best albums. So 98 is a good year. 98 is a good year.
This might be the year. You got Lauryn Hill, you got DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot.
Mel, hold up. Wait, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, is that a rap album?
It's a rap album, yeah.
No, it's not. It's a hybrid. This is rap. There's rap on it. Can you call it a rap album to be put in a rap conversation?
I mean, you're not gonna call it an R&B album. It is a hybrid album, but
it's a hybrid. But it isn't either one.
Listen, remember, this is the year that DMX dropped 2 albums that went platinum in the same year.
Yeah.
Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, and It's Dark and Hell is Hot. You had Money, Power, and Respect, The Lots. You had Big Pun, Capital Punishment. You had Extinction Level Event, The Final Frontier, Busta, Gangstar. Oh, man.
Melly, can I get your perspective on 400 Degrees by Juvenile?
Look, 400 Degrees is an impactful album. I don't ever listen to that album. It's just a South album. It was impactful. Like I don't know where you guys are from, but I'm in the tri-state. You know what I'm saying? I'm in Jersey. I'm in
the Bronx. I'm in the Bronx.
So we wasn't playing that album. That didn't hit us.
You see, I think that's unfair because.
But I recognize it's impact. That's why I say for the South that was a massive hit. It was a massive album, but it just.
Because I think a lot of Southern artists, especially when that album came out, I think Juvie really tried his best to take what he felt people would love in the East Coast, which was some lyricism, and he wove it in really, really well with the Southern bounce. And I feel like a lot of the time they get the short end of the stick because they're from the South.
Listen, that's a classic album. I will say it's a classic album, but if we're talking about a better South album that implemented all that and pitched it better to the East Coast, so Aquemini would definitely blow 400 Degrees out of the waters.
100%.
But I agree with you. It's an impactful album. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it is like it doesn't belong on any top tier lists because it was a great album.
You know, as I'm looking at this now, I think I am slowly saying that 98 might be the second best year behind 95.
It's actually it's kind of funny, HH, because when you picked 96, I said to you, I want to save the space for 96 for a year that's just around the corner, and this was the year.
Yeah, 98 is a good year, man. I mean, I'm just looking at just the grouping, the albums as a whole. 98 is a very strong year.
You got Nori's Nori album.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Nori. That's just my consensus. I don't like Nori at all as a rapper. He's just not a good rapper. His music never hit to me.
Wait, who? Noriega?
Noriega, yeah. He was never a good
this
rapper.
thing, you are right, but CNN Nori and Single Nori are 2 different guys.
Like, yeah. CNN Nori, I will agree with you. Capone and Noriega, bro, they're great together.
Yes,
The chemistry is A1, but Nori as a solo artist, he's not a rapper. Like, I don't understand his position in hip hop today.
No. Do you know what it is? Because we were saying it before. There are rappers or there are songs that are headphone songs and speaker songs. His songs are speaker songs. Like what's it called?
Car.
The Neptunes thingy. Oh gosh, what's it called again? Like that was a humongous hit, and his rapping, it's so weird and the flow is so odd, but it just works really well because it's such an odd, weird flow that works well for a single. It ain't lyrical, it's not profound or something, but just as a single in a club, it just works well. So that's what you're just going to give him. And he's got such a personality, as well, that he brings to the song. So, Marvelous, what was your other short list?
Speaking of Nori, he dropped the song 5 days ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, it's titled Out of Line and Going Up.
I listened to that last album that Nori dropped. I think it was like 2019.
It's featuring Method Man and Conway. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. I don't know what made me listen to it, but sometimes I like to give these artists the benefit of the doubt. It was it's not even listed on here. 5E, I think. Yeah, 5E, 2018. When I tell you that strengthened my argument that Nori should not rap, like he's almost like the DJ Khaled of like the 90s, except DJ Khaled don't make his beats and Nori don't. I feel like Nori should have had a ghostwriter. Nori should have just been that dude that been in the studio and just been fed raps, because when he writes, it's not rap. It just sounds.
It was so brave of him to go last on Banned from TV. Is to go behind after the Locks, after Big Pun, after 90s Cameron. It's like,
that's not brave. That's not brave. That's just he was forced into that. Listen, any cipher, anything that has to do with Big Pun alone, I don't want to go after him.
No, Big Pun was no. That guy was it was different. Okay, so Marvelous, what was your other year on your short list?
Let me just see, because I listed them down. So just give me a second. The next year on my short list was 03.
2003? The heck? I mean, what? Nah, come on, man.
Hold on. He might be onto something.
No, he's not onto anything.
Hold on. Whoa. 2003 is a serious year. I mean, I'm not saying like it was the greatest album, but you have some crazy impactful albums. You have Get Rich or Die Trying.
Okay.
Right? That album to this day is diamond. Monumental.
100%.
Listen, I remember listening to that in elementary school. You know what I'm saying? I'm 28, like listening to this in elementary school as a kid, this was just crazy, even though a lot of the stuff went over my head as a kid. But this was a crazy album. And then one of my favorite Hove albums dropped that year, his retirement album, the Black Album, which is, like I said, it's my favorite album, man. That album's serious. Him and No ID, they destroyed that album.
No, it's one of Jay-Z's best albums, Black Album. Like, I forgot how many hits, the amount of hits on that album.
Hits. The whole album. Like, it's hard for me to, like, not play that album in its entirety sometimes. I mean, though there are, like, the, Dirt Off Your Shoulders and Change Clothes, which I'm not really that crazy about, but, those are two takeaways. Those are two songs I could take away, and the album's just fire. But you also got Speaker Box. The Love Below.
Let's be real. How many times have you listened to the whole double album back to front, or did you just listen to specific songs? Keep it real.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna be the very like common like opinion that I don't listen to Big Boy Side.
Thank you.
I don't listen to Big Boy Side. But Andre's side is ridiculous. That is some of the most progressive hip hop I ever heard. Maybe it's almost to this day, man. Like, that album is just so progressive. And when you talk about hybrid albums, like when you're saying Miseducation, this isn't really a rap album. Love Below is not a rap album. There's very few songs where he's rapping on this album.
But if you combine the double album as a whole, there is more rap on it than Miseducation. And also, you see, we're now going to get to Drake very soon when we talk about the other years as to should Drake even be in this conversation, because he's never actually made a rap album, Drake. But my thing is that I've always felt that Big Boy has never been given as much appreciation based on how good Andre 3000 is.
Yes, that's
Because,
true.
because I would say,
Be-
okay, look,
I missed
Big
that.
Boy
I'm
is a
sorry.
very good album.
because
But
he's
you-
paired with such a great artist in Andre 3000. It serves as it discredits him.
Which is why this was such a
Do you think so?
bad, yeah, 100%. This was
I
such
think-
a bad move because look, as you've just said, you don't even listen to Big Boy's side, and many people they won't admit it in public, but they will say that no, I didn't listen to Big Boy's side. I listened to Andre 3000, which shows you how difficult
think-
it is.
I don't think it discredits him because I mean together they balance each other very well, you know? I mean, you know, Big Boy is like the essence of the South. If you were to tell me a better Southern artist, I would say Big Boy, truthfully. Now, if you tell me which one's a better rapper and like just like I would say nationally, Andre 3000 is just on another level. But as a Southern rapper, Big Boy captures that better than Andre, I think.
You see, for me, I think that is disingenuous because I think that for Big Boy, it's not even like a Southern thing. I think he's just a really good rapper with because he's from the South, with a very unique rapping style.
His flow, I mean, Big Boy's flow is serious.
It's
You know,
very
you
good.
can't. I'm not gonna discredit Big Boy, man. He's heavy in the game. Like, you know, like his solo
then-
stuff, even outside of Outkast, is.
But
is
why didn't you
really
listen to his side of the album then?
It's just because it got overshadowed. You know,
There we
if
go.
I'm going to be honest, yeah, I'm going to be absolutely honest. It got overshadowed by Andre. Like Andre was just doing stuff that nobody had did that whole decade. You know, he had songs like Prototype. He had songs like Valentine's Day. He had songs like Spread. He had like pure instrumental jazz pieces at the end. Like, you know what I'm saying? He had all these weird songs that just wasn't hip hop.
So okay, so Marvelous. What other year are these all of your years, or are there any other years that you had on your short list?
No. I also had.
Oh God.
Can I mention a couple albums before we move on though? Because this album, this year's still pretty serious. Go ahead.
Everyone in the chat is slating us for missing 1999. Did you have 1999 on your short list, AJ?
Hell no.
Everyone's saying, "How dare we miss 1999?"
Okay, let's look at 1999. Okay, Melt. Say it before a trip from 1999.
All right, I need to come back to 2003 though, because that is a serious year too.
Man.
Yo, listen, there's some stuff, and I've seen people saying in the
2003.
chat they'll agree with
Wait,
me once I mention some of these albums.
Everyone in the chat also loves 2003.
Let me see. Yeah, 2003 they was responding. I'm looking at the chat and they named a couple that I didn't get to mention. But
So are we sleeping on 99?
Chat, I hate to betray you like this, but I don't see anything special about 1999.
Nah. The only
sorry,
thing special is Black on Board. See, if I'm being
The Roots,
subjective,
maybe the Roots
very
album
much.
is really good.
Guys, let's keep it real. It's Pheromonch and Mos Def. That was the only thing for this year. No one is listening to I Am Nas. No one's listening to that stuff, man. Let's be real.
I mean, yeah, you got Operation Doomsday as a classic. You have what do we have here? You have I mean, you got Murder Music. You got Blackout was pretty monumental, man. I mean, that solidified them as one of the top tier duos in hip hop. You guys, yo, the art of storytelling? You kidding me? Come on, the art of storytelling, Slick Rick. We gonna just glow a spot, and we gonna just not gonna like talk about that. That album's impact on hip hop. Come on, man. What else we got? Everything else looks weak. What I'm looking at right now. Yeah. 1999 don't look that great. I mean,
Yeah.
what is people gonna say? What? Because the Chronic dropped. Well, 2001 dropped. By
Yeah.
Dre. Like, yeah, I'm looking at this list. It ain't that great.
Okay, so let's go back to 03. Let's see what we're missing from 03 then.
Yo, listen. Let me tell you. You got Urban Legend by T.I., right? We're talking about the South again. That shook the South. T.I.'s Urban Legend. That solidifies him, right? Because I don't really talk too much about T.I. albums, or nor do I go back to many Ti albums. But that one had a massive buzz, and it reached over here in the East Coast. Like that was a serious album. I'm gonna tell you what didn't bump is Ella Funk by the Black Eyed Peas. That was a boo album. Like that was bad. Now
Black Eyed Peas.
They were better then, though.
Take Me to Your Leader is arguably one of MS Doom's best albums that gets overlooked, in my opinion. That album was crazy because he dropped that after Operations Doomsday, right? And Doomsday was 99, right? We just saw that. It's tough, man. Joel Santana, For Me to You, that was
Blood in My Eye, Ja Rule.
You see, Joel Santana.
That was a movement, bro.
It's a movement because we're in the East Coast, But I can imagine for someone in the West Coast, it's just like,
I don't
and
know.
I also try to look at things from their perspective when I try to make something objective.
I felt like their buzz was hitting the whole nation, man. I don't know. I felt like that buzz was. I felt like that Dipset buzz.
You were
right.
We were in the eye.
We were in ground zero. Yeah, we were in ground zero. So when it hit, we was the first to get hit. Like, yeah, I absolutely agree with you because I mean, we got to take into consideration how music was digested and distributed back then. So like, this was getting played heavy on the radio when it came out.
So Marv, what was your other shortlist year?
2013.
Oh my god. That's what's
I feel like it sounds like HH don't like any of your shortlist.
I don't. Mel, can you look at 23rd?
I'm looking at it right now. So you got Yeezus. I don't want that album.
Thank you.
Nothing Was the Same. It's a great album. I'm sorry, it's a great album. I'm not a Drake fan. I can't vouch for Drake and anything. But that was a good album. Acid Rap was a monumental album.
Chance the Rapper is overrated.
He's underrated, I feel like, because of this. No, hold on. He's not underrated. He's dropped some really bad projects. I'll tell you what, though, his features never disappoint. I mean, his projects disappoint, but his features are always on point. Eminem's Marshall Mathers Part 2, nah. No. Born Sinner, whew. It's J. Cole's best album, bro. That's J. Cole's best album. That album was serious. I got that in my whip CD. Like, that album's serious. And he ain't from the East Coast, you know what I'm saying? Magna Carta Holy Grail. You guys can keep this album. I do not like this album.
Yeah. No. You see, wait, Marvelous, what are you, 2013 is, come on, man. What kind of nonsense is this?
No, there's some good, you got Because the Internet. Like, I don't know if you listen to Childish Gambino, but Because the Internet is it is his best album to date. That album it does a great thing for hip hop. It's a very experimental album, from the concept of the album to the sonics of the album, that he does a lot of production. The features on the album are really good. Tyler, the Creator's Wolf. It's not impactful.
Now that I look at this year again, I think I was hypnotized. I don't know why I picked it.
That might have been a nostalgic wave. Long Live ASAP. It was
yes. Thank you, Melly Mel. That was the exact word I used when I said, when HH asked me why I picked it. If we go back, I used that exact word. I said nostalgia because Jesus resonates with me as a producer because of how much risk and experimentation happened on that album. ASAP Rocky's At Long Last ASAP reminds me of high school. Yeah. 2013, also Chief Keef. Yeah. High school. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you guys a quick cheat sheet, right? Any year that has a Tyga album is a bad year. Hotel California, bad year.
That's actually true. Now that I think about it,
any year that Tyga has dropped an album is a very bad year for hip hop. That's why he drops an album, because nobody's buzzing that heavy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. But then you got Pusha T's My Name Is My Name. That's an album. You got Trap Lord. Nah, I'm good off of that. You got Doris. I like Doris, man. Earl Sweatshirt. Yeah, you got Crenshaw by Nipsey Hussle. That's a solid project. You got Run the Jewels came out, and that was, you know what I'm saying? That was serious.
So okay, so do you have any other years on your short list? Marv, was this the last one?
Let me see. 2017.
Oh, are you? 2017.
Yeah, I mean,
Actually, you know what? This
Yeah,
was
this-
okay. Yes, this okay. This okay. Okay, this was fine
it had a
Yeah.
lot of impact this year. That
Yes.
year had a lot of impact.
because Damn, 444, Layla's Wisdom, Forever's a Mighty Long Time, and America's Most Wanted. Joey Badass's albums.
Great albums. America, yeah, All American Badass is like one of my man. I listened to that album a lot.
Very
in
good
its
album.
Entirety.
Very
Like
good
it's
album.
it is sonically a good album. The concept is like it's there and it stands the test of time. Its relevancy today is amazing. Then you got, I mean, listen, this is controversial, but then you got XX Tentacion, man. 17, that was a serious project. Like that
And
was
that-
a serious project. That was a really serious
Look
project.
at HH.
I know HH ain't gonna agree because HH is the OG, bro. Like that's why I gotta say it.
When we first went through this year, I held my tongue and didn't
I
say
know. That's why I gotta say it, man. I know it probably hasn't been said, but yeah, 17, man, that was a massive
Yeah,
project.
that was a great album. But I also made the point that after 2013 or 2012 is where you start having albums where they're not classics, but the charade and the social media push and the rollout surrounding them can sort of deceive the average naive listener into putting them as a classic. When a person goes on Instagram and they see a song and a skit every other upload, every other post, they may start to like it, even though they don't. Whereas back then in the 90s, it was more so word of mouth, and radio didn't really play hip hop, so you had to really like it.
So Mel, is there any year that sort of just screams out to you whenever?
I'm looking at my tabs right now, and 98, man, 98 is a heavy year. 98 is a really heavy year. If it wasn't 98, it might have been 96 then, but 98, the tab I still have open, and I'm looking at it again, and it's a really heavy year.
98 is a very good year. 98 is a very good year. And you know what? Let me tell you this. If Cannabis was given a quality producer, I think 98 would then top the chain. Because remember, I think Cannabis, because the big thing of 98 was Cannabis, DMX, and Big Pun all dropping their debut albums on the same year based on the hype. But the issue was that Cannabis was with that clown, Wyclef, who ruined his whole album. So Wyclef is a clown.
Anytime you say Cannabis, I just imagine Red telling you 1,000 reasons why Eminem is better.
Oh look, get Eminem, get that Eminem. I'll say it again. Cannabis, he got done in by Wyclef. If he gave Cannabis a quality producer and everything, 98 would have been a ridiculous year because Big Pun, amazing debut. DMX, amazing debut. You had Gangster, Moments of Truth. Amazing album. Black Star. That's an amazing album.
When was that? That was 98?
Yep, Black Star was 1998.
Yeah, that might be it for me. That might have been the nail in the coffin right there.
But
Black Star, I didn't even see Black Star. That's funny because I'm literally fishing for the vinyl for that album, like literally last night to today.
Are we sleeping on 95? Only Built for Cuban Links, The Infamous, Liquid Swords, Return of the 36 Chambers, Soul Food, Goody Mob, Big L. Guys, I'm sorry, 95, man.
ARS-1. That's a heavy year. That's tough. But man,
it's between 95 and 98.
You got the Far Side, yeah. Oh man, that's a tough one. Those might be the man.
You see, I mean, it's. I mean, and I think 96 we sort of just said was
Nah, I looked at 96. It was not. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It
yeah. I
wasn't
mean,
it for me.
it's cool, but I think 98. I put 98 above 96. I'm happy to put 98 above 96, and 94 was nah. It was really just Illmatic.
I'll tell you what I like about 95. 95 has some of the most diverse albums that year. I feel like from artists.
Yeah, it's like because I think when you just look at it, it's like what you have to look at.
You
top
have
down.
you got people releasing from everywhere. You got Tupac. You got
Bone Thugs and Harmony,
Bone Thugs. Yeah, The Roots. Yeah.
AZ's
man.
debut album, The Far Side.
That's a tough one. LL dropped, and that was a massive album for him too. Let's see.
Basically, so I think it's between 95 and 98.
Nah, it's 98 for me. It's a grand. Yeah, it's 98 for me. 98 is a serious year.
I think it's 98.
Yeah, you got to run through it, man. I mean, we can't not count the miseducation of. Yeah, we can't.
You see,
can't
98.
I'm taking that out. I'm taking Miseducation
year
out.
for me without Miseducation. If you were to put Miseducation in,
Oh,
it makes
then
it
it's-
undeniable. But without Miseducation, it's still the year for me.
Listen, Black Star replaces that album. Then I didn't even know Black Star was 98. That that album is one of my favorite albums of all time. DMX, those albums were insane. The quality was not like diluted because he dropped 2 albums that same year. Those albums were insane. Aquemini was insane. Capital Punishment, again, insane.
Yeah, I mean, 98 is good. 98 is really good, man. 98 is really good. This was a very good album. Doctor Name 2000. I think this is Redman's best album. That's his best album.
Did Ghostface Killer release an album in 98?
Cause wait, when was Iron Man?
If Iron Man is 98, then there
No,
isn't.
no.
Let me make sure. Look in my.
I think Iron Man was 90. Was Iron Man 90? 96. Iron Man was 96.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, 96 is but actually, are we sleeping on 96?
Nah, man, 98.
It's Aliens,
It's serious.
Reasonable
You also-
Doubt. It was written, Beats and Rhymes and Life, Iron Man.
See, I'm gonna be honest with you. It Was Written was a great album, but nah, man. Reasonable Doubt is a great album, but
80 Aliens.
AT Aliens is a great album. All Eyes on Me is a crazy album.
And for me, Beats, Rhymes and Life is Tribe Called Quest's best album.
Hmm.
I believe that is their best album. You see, but for me, I'm willing to say 95, 98, I can't choose. It's between those two. But you see, for me, I'm trying to take my personal bias away because 95 have some of the albums where I really
98 also has some really bad albums too. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was like just all bangers. You got Ghetto Superstar by Pross, which was a horrible album. You had Vanilla Ice that dropped that year. You know what I'm saying? Let that.
Okay, can we just say something? How is it that you have a band where a lady and 2 guys, and the 2 guys are the trashiest members of that band in terms of rapping? Wyclef is average. Praz,
Because he's a cousin, that's why. That's
look. Let me not say anything.
I
Let me not say
think
anything.
I think your bias against Wyclef stems a lot from the cannabis.
No. Nah, it's like
Fun fact.
I mean,
Fun
it's
fact.
funny. Go ahead.
In a lot of the retro FIFAs, so from maybe FIFA 07, FIFA 08, FIFA 09, FIFA 10, that era, Wyclef produced a lot of the songs. And if you go back and listen to the soundtracks of a lot of those FIFA songs, especially FIFA 10, they have this kind of like funky Caribbean vibe to them.
It's just nonsense. Okay, you know what? While we decide on 98 and 95, what is the worst year of rap? You know, I think it's somewhere through the two because we went through a period that was trap.
2000s easily, I would say.
I think was it 2006? There was one trash year. I mean, see, 06. I mean, look at this nonsense. What is this? 07? Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that was the year Kingdom Come dropped. Yeah, that was a
Graduation was cool, but apart from graduation,
you had Snoop Dogg, Blue Carpet Treatment. Those were I mean, but damn, that's when Lupe dropped.
Curtis.
That's when Lupe dropped. Listen, I'm gonna sit this one out.
What was the year?
That's pure bias.
What was the year that Death of Autotune was released?
That was on Blueprint 3, so that had to be 2010, 11.
So I think everyone is saying 07 is the worst. I mean, 07
2009 is Blueprint 3. So
who's that guy? Bitch, go back. Go back. Who's that guy? That's how bad this year is. Go back. I'll tell you where right there.
what happened?
Who's that?
Wait, what is this? Blue and Exile.
What?
Wait, what is this?
You don't like Blue and Exile? Below the Heavens? Hold on. Don't tell me I need to stand my ground right now.
I've never heard of
this.
Yo, let me educate you guys right quick. Below the Heavens, it goes down as one of the best underground projects in the 2000s.
Okay.
That album is ridiculous. And like, listen, you can take that with a grain of salt. But I need you guys to listen to that sometime. That album is amazing. Like, it's just.
I'm gonna load it up. I'm gonna load it up right now.
You got soulful beats. You got quality rhymes and storytelling. Like
Blue and Exile.
Blue is an amazing rapper. Exile is an amazing producer. Like
Below the Heavens.
Splashnet knows the vibes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Exile is a great.
I'm always happy to look at discover new stuff, man. I'm willing to discover new stuff.
I would definitely recommend that as something that you guys like listen to. If you've never listened to that, it just got swept over the rug because like that kid Blue, he suffered from a lot of like mental like illnesses, like depression and stuff like that. It kind of prevented him from like being catapulted. But like he was supposed to be the next thing at that time. But it didn't get a lot of commercial success, so that's probably why not a lot of people know of its existence.
So I mean, yeah, for me, I still say. Actually, let me ask you this now because I think I already asked this to Marvelous. Does J. Cole have a classic album? Oh, no. Actually, I'm going to ask you two questions. First question is this, and then ask you the second one. So, first question is: does J. Cole have a classic album, bona fide classic album?
I'm gonna say Born Sinner. Yeah, Born Sinner is his most complete project to date, I think. And that was what was it, 2000 and what was that, 2008, 2009? I'm not really good with the years.
Yeah, me neither, which is why this Google thing helps, man.
Yeah, 2013, so I'm way off. 2013. Yeah, J. Cole, I'm a big J. Cole fan, man, but I'll sit here and tell you that he has a lot of subpar projects. Born Sinner was not one of those projects. It was probably his most cohesive project.
But you say cohesive, but was it a classic where this is a because I don't think he has yet made a classic. Because for me, I'm one of those guys that say that J. Cole is a better rapper than Kendrick, but he has not yet done his rapping talent justice.
The divide when it comes to the Kendrick and J. Cole debate, I think that Kendrick is, of course, a better rapper.
Artist.
He is a better complete package versus J. Cole. J. Cole's storytelling and relatability, though, is A1. There's certain times when you just can't relate to Kendrick because there's that West Coast divide. But J. Cole is not an East Coast dude. He spent time in New York, sure, but that relatability, I feel like it's on a national level. Like anybody from any state can relate to a lot of the stories. He's very honest. Like the level of honesty that he shows in his music is pretty crazy.
All right, so let me ask you this, and then before we round this off, so shocking revelation that we had when we were doing this, because we got up to 2015, and I was like, Pimp Butterfly, boom. Everyone has said, and I don't know that this is revisionist, that To Pimp a Butterfly is overrated, and isn't that good? Honest take on To Pimp a Butterfly.
I love that album. I just
Say
don't
it.
know, man.
Say it.
Like-
Say it with your chest.
I love that album, man. I can get why people don't like that album because it's just too much. It's definitely just too much. It's like I feel like Good Kid, Mad City was like Dre telling Kendrick, "All right, you need to like drop an album that like introduces you to the world. Don't be too heavy about it, but like you can have a couple songs where you're heavy about it." But then he's like, if you do that, I'll give you To Pimp a Butterfly. And you can just be as dense as you want. But a lot of that stuff, a lot of the storytelling in that song still goes over people's heads to this day. Like, I mean, mine, there's a lot of stuff that he talks about. Like, what's the song? Mortal Man is a really heavy song that it's a lot of stuff.
See, no, but it's like, my thing is that I get it. I understand how it's difficult to listen to. It's not an album that you can just put in, like Illmatic, boom, Doggy Style, boom. You got to listen to back to front because of the intervals and how it's haphazard in the way it's structured, but it's done because that is just him trying to be artistic. Like, it's not an album that I will rush to listen to, but still, you got to still got to take a step back and say, no, as a piece of work, it's still pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
I've just never really understood how people are like, nah, man, it's overrated. It's not that good.
Institutionalized is a very serious track on that album. Yeah. I mean, that Snoop Dogg feature is like, it is one of my favorite features of Snoop Dogg on there. Like, it's just.
And also, what's it called? Like, how much a dollar costs, man.
How much a dollar
The
costs.
storytelling on that is extremely
Crazy.
good. So, okay,
Yeah.
so
That album though, you can't just listen to it little bit by little. You can't take a song here and listen to it here. That album is meant to be listened in its entirety.
The whole
Otherwise,
thing
it's
from
just going to
beginning to
lose you.
yeah.
You just gonna get lost.
Okay, so to end this, so let's just give what I hear. So for me, taking everything into account, for me, it is between 95 and 98. I am choosing 1995 because I just feel that the kinds of, because for me, you have to think about how impactful Wu-Tang were and how skilled those rappers were. And you could argue that apart from Iron Man, these were arguably the strongest single Wu-Tang projects. And also, I was watching the Yadamine podcast with Lord Jamal where he interviewed Inspector Deck. His debut album was actually lost in a flood in the studio. So I don't know what year that was, but we were supposed to get an Inspector Deck debut album. And I've always said that for me, Inspector Deck, I believe, is the best rapper in Wu-Tang. So if Inspector Deck had dropped maybe in 95, oh my God in heaven. So just think when you look at Cuban Links, Liquid Swords, 36 Chambers, then you then bring in the infamous Soul Food, Goody Mob, then you bring in Bone Thugs and Harmony, then you bring in Big L. I'm going to make an argument, not now, but another time, that Do or Die is better than Illmatic. But that's for another discussion. So there are...
That's a crazy accusation.
Let's be crystallize it. But I'll put it another time. So
That's
me,
crazy.
I'm sticking with 95. So Marvelous, which year are you sticking with?
I have to be honest. I think 2015 1998.
Don't.
What? Yeah. I was
The
about
night-
to-
Yeah. Look,
Yeah,
I was going to
1998.
throw you out to the other stream, man. But
I was gonna say, what? Who is this guy? Whose man's is this?
1988 is the best year for me.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. 1998, it was serious. It was serious. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of contributions. I mean, you guys had "Devil Without a Cause" by Kid Rock. How could you not? Like, let me stop. That's crazy.
It's a good year, man.
It's a really good year. I mean, you got Beastie Boys, Hello Nasty on there. I'm not.
This was pretty good as well on Nexus.
Yeah, man. You have "Moment of Truth" by Gangstar on there. You had my homie Scarface. I'm a huge Scarface fan. I love.
Wait, has an artist ever dropped two arguable classic albums in the same year?
DMX was the first to do it and go platinum, and then
Wow.
Hove did it, I think, after. Now I don't know if you want to count Hove because he had dropped a collab and an album, but DMX I think is the first to ever do it solo, just solo projects.
Wow, man. So guys, look, man, it is what it is. You can have your thoughts and so forth. We thank you very much for you guys coming in, and we're going to try and get, because I think the next kind of discussion I want to talk about is the best rap group. Best rap group, because I've been listening to some Mobb Deep, and I've just been watching some Wu-Tang stuff, and I think that is a great debate. What is the best rap group? So I think that's another one that I want to try and set up again, man. But I think we whittle this down to 95 and 98, and it's a great argument. I think you couldn't go either which way, but I think those are two good ones. So guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll hopefully be back for another beautiful rap debate, man. So guys, peace out, stay true. We'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys. Peace.
Peace.